In the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. We're happy to spend some time with us on I'm struggling Tuesday. Yeah.
You good?
No.
What do you mean?
Lost a 2-man match play match on hole 21. Extra holes. Devastation. You know, after getting eliminated from the tennis, now I'm eliminated from the golf.
Oh, man.
I'm pissed. But because I had about an 8-foot putt that would have ended the match, and I left it on the lip, and I thought it was going in. Thought it was over. Thought the match was over, and then we lost 3 holes later. So,
oh man,
killer.
Did you crouch like Tiger? Did you? I know the knees.
I tried to crouch. I tried to pounce. We were 5 down in the match. Came all the way back. Tied it. Extra holes. 8-footer. Thought it was in, and it crossed the face and sat on the lip, and they won the next hole with a great hole by them. But so this is raw. This is fresh off the course. You're catching me with like the pain and the suffering.
Yeah.
It was 100 degrees. We had them. We were 5 down going into the back 9. Came all the way back.
Man, that hurts me.
I know.
Like,
well,
damn.
God's sake. Just make the putt, you know? And it's over.
8 feet, that's tough though, man. I've seen pros miss a lot closer. So, you know, what course was this?
Great Hills.
Okay, you're familiar with this course? How many times have you played it?
Lot.
Oh man, that's
I knew the break. I just didn't I just needed to hit it harder.
Yeah.
I thought it was in, and it literally crossed the face right at the hole. But hey, devastating.
Yeah. But that should drive you though, man. That's
it does. Now I'm like determined I'm gonna get my knee replacement. I'm sorry, I'm pissed.
No, let that out. This is why it's Texas Sports Unfiltered. Let out that sailor word if you have to.
It's gotta
word. Let it out. I can't
play on this knee anymore. I'm done. I'm gonna get it fixed, and then I'm gonna get back to beating ass in tennis and golf. So
that's right. Who beat you in tennis? What's his name? Jay.
Yeah,
Jay. We coming for you, Jay. Sleep with one eye.
Jay knows if I get this knee right. Jay knows. He's had it. You know.
That's what I'm talking about.
Jay's a grinder though. He trains.
That's okay.
I'm a train.
Yeah.
I'm a train. Once this knee is right, I'm in it.
Yeah, we need to go John Brown. You might need John Brown for this.
I think I need John Brown.
I think you need John Brown. Just some type of motivation, get you over the hump. You know, I go on my Connor Stallion stuff, and I can find out what Jay's doing on the down low, because then we go back to John Brown. Remember what him and Amurad did. How many times did what's my man's name? Odell Beckham. How many times he catch them balls?
200. So
right.
Amon-Ra does 202.
That's right. Get you on that. Find out what Jay does, the exact amount every day, his workout plan, what he eats, how he goes about his day, how he goes about that work. And we got to one up that. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to get you back right.
Yeah, that was bad. that was terrible, actually.
I like terrible. Terrible is good sometimes. Drives you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're going to have that feeling always deep inside when you get on them weights, when you go through physical therapy and that rehab session, which you need. It's going to be in the back of your mind. Yeah, Rocky, playing Rocky in the background. I am the tiger. Yeah, man. It's going down.
Ike's right. It's all my fault. It doesn't matter if it's the knee, the putter. It's my fault. I lost the match. I should have made the putt. I had the chance to put him out. I missed it. That's gonna drive me. But hey, and no, we're not upset over losing ping pong. It was a golf match play match, like real golf. Par threes, par fours, par fives.
Hey, you could win a gold medal in ping pong or table tennis. Let's be politically correct here. You can win a gold medal in that in the Olympics. Don't sleep.
I will take on anyone in ping pong.
Anyone? Just like
anyone.
That? Wow.
All comers.
Wow. Why aren't you in the Olympics then? What are you doing here?
I'm old.
So?
If I was focused as a 12-year-old, like the Chinese, those dudes, it's like you get potty trained and taught ping pong and stacking cups. You know how those guys stack those cups and knock them down? Yeah. Chinese are untouched in that.
Well, they are good.
Go try and stack some cups. Forget it.
What's homegirl's name that does the halftime show?
Red Panda.
Red Panda. That's my girl. Yo, talk about talent.
He's got an ESPN promo now.
Yeah, she should.
With Kendrick Perkins and cute girl.
What's Andrews? Malika Andrews?
Yeah, Malika Andrews.
Malika Andrews, yeah. That she should. Red Panda is a legend. So yeah, they could stack. They could stack. But yeah, man, we're
bowl stack cups. Do not take the Chinese on in bowl stacking, cup stacking, or ping pong. Other than that, bring it on.
All right. Now you talk a loud game at table tennis, man. I'm not the best table tennis guy. I know my pops is. He supposedly
CC's got the table tennis?
According to him, now he pulled the old, I ain't what I used to be, like you doing a little bit. But yeah, he's always known to brag about his table tennis skills.
Hey, man. Racket sports. Let's go. I need to win something.
I gotta see that new Brett Favre doc.
Oh, we got something new?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Netflix, they doing a hell of a job. Netflix is messy. Netflix, any type of scandal in sports, Netflix wants to cover it. Whether it was my man Donahue, who was betting on games and dealing with the mob, they did that. They did Johnny Football.
Tim Donahue?
Donahue, that's his name. Yeah, they got him out there just spilling the beans and talking about what happened when he got banned from the league back in the mid-2000s or whatever the hell time that was. They did a good one on Johnny Football. The Tim Tebow one was good. Connor Stallions. Just watched the Gilbert Arenas one. Just watched Liver King with my wife. That fraud. I remember him blowing up 3 years ago. And I forgot about him. Liver King. Old big swole dude that was just eating liver and animals that he would kill on the fly and eat it there, eating testicles and just crazy stuff, and said most jacked dude in the world, like 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger jacked. And he was like, I just train every day and do millions and millions of push-ups every day. And I get this body by eating just liver. And he was lying the whole time. He was on that Barry Bonds.
He was the Tony Mandarich of whatever he was doing.
He was lying the whole time. Just lying. Folks were buying it. He was selling product. Everybody was engaged. People were inspired. And then all of a sudden, these emails came out. They're like, yo, Liver King, you're a fraud, bro. You got that Sammy Sosa in the cabinet. And he hasn't recovered since.
because he's living that lie.
He's living that lie. Yeah.
That's exhausting.
Ain't it?
Like, I've covered so many people who were total frauds. And it's exhausting.
Who's someone you can't get in trouble by or might no longer be with us? Who's a fraud? Who's
I covered. So I won an award for investigative journalism for a guy who was a reverend who would go into small towns and serve as a undercover drug narc for small town police. Okay. So we're talking West Texas, where everybody in town knows the 3 police officers. So they got to bring in someone from out of town to go undercover. This guy was pinning drugs on Hispanics and blacks in these small towns.
Ugh.
And I busted him. He threatened to kill me. But
What?
Oh yeah. The headline of the story was Reverend Rent-A-Narc.
That's catchy. I like
and
that.
he got busted.
Wow.
Fraud. So
how'd you figure that out?
There was one of the families that got wrongfully accused contacted me and was like, this guy's up to no good. And I traced all the towns that he had been in all the way back to Kentucky. And they all reopened the investigations into the cases he made because there was a pattern of him accusing minorities of drug, dealing, possession in these small towns, Kentucky, New Mexico, Texas. And I put it all together and all the cases got thrown out.
Wow.
And the guy thought, oh, no one's going to pick up on what I'm doing. I did it in Kentucky. Now I'm in New Mexico. Now I'm in Texas.
Damn, you like Columbo or something.
Columbo. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the victories I've had in life.
Oh, well, yeah, you need to get big up.
Instead of that goddamn 8-foot putt I missed today.
Did you feel the pressure on the putt? Like, what were you?
No, I wanted to kill these guys. I was ready to put them out. And
that's not good.
I thought the putt was in. It went right across the face of the cup.
Ready to kill these guys. I don't know if that's the right mindset you should be having in golf, though. I feel like you need to be eased and relaxed. Like,
no, because we were charging. We were 5 down. Then we were 4 down. Then we were 3 down. Then we were 2 down. Then we were 1 down. Then we were tied. And we had it. I was ready to put them out. And then
you're thinking ahead, man. Ready to put them out. That's a lot of. I mean, I like that you were confident. You got to be confident. But also, you're talking about wanting to kill and ready to take them out. That just seems very dangerous for the game of golf. If you're playing tennis,
you're killing me.
Sense. Golf,
you're killing me right now.
Well, like with the deep breaths, you know what I'm saying? When there are people watching, what was the audience like? Was there an audience?
There was no audience. Just forgot to text Hank. Oh, and Hummer wants to come on without video today.
Oh, damn.
Should we just have him come on tomorrow?
I mean, if he's on, but I think not video. But like, is his face okay?
Well, he's like doing errands or something.
I mean, having him on, yeah, we just need his voice.
Well, no, I told him to come on tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine.
I
just hope he's all right. That's all.
All right, there's our man, Hank South. Let's bring him in. He's in the green room. Hank?
What's up?
Hank South, managing editor, horns247.com, the MVP, I call him, because he does it all. Thanks for coming on, man. We got all kinds of we got all kinds of stuff going on. We got baseball's the SEC regular season champ. Softball's moving on to the super regional. But football season never ends, Hank.
Yeah.
And we picked up another commitment, or are we on commitment watch?
So, yeah, I think since we last talked, we've seen 2 kids commit to Texas. It's kind of been a busy May. Usually you don't see this many commitments pre-official visit season. But, yeah, I mean, the biggest one, and no slight to anybody else, but Jermaine Bishop, who's stud athlete from Willis, Texas, recently named a 24/7 Sports 5-star. That's how highly they think of him. Committed to Texas last Wednesday. He had, 24 plus offers. Texas has been trending for him for a while, but he opted to go ahead and pop and pick the Longhorns. And I mean, big time player. Like, and it's kind of like how we were talking about Michael Terry last year. He can do a lot of things. I think he's more truly a two-way player, whereas, Michael Terry, I think we're pretty sure is going to be a receiver. Jermaine Bishop, like, there's, and, not to put too much pressure on the kid, but there's Travis Hunter talk about him in terms of like his ability to truly contribute on both sides of the ball and in the return game. So really big pickup there. Like I said, he's been trending to Texas for a minute. We thought he was going to wait until after official visits. He decided to go ahead and commit. A kid that's super, super productive. Again, he's smaller. So, maybe wide receiver makes a little bit more sense for him in terms of just his sheer size. But again, he can play both sides of the ball, very elite level. Jermaine Bishop from Willis, Texas. He was actually, what's interesting is, so he played with DJ Lagway 2 seasons ago, Lagway's senior year. Had really good numbers, obviously, then actually put up better numbers this past season after Lagway left. So, like, he's, there was no drop off in production from him, despite losing DJ Lagway, who's obviously the starter at Florida. So he committed on Wednesday, big time get. And then on Friday, Jordan Scruggs on Horns 24/7 was all over this. What's up, Chris? Yaheem Riley from Austin Anderson committed to Texas. That's one we've kind of been waiting on. He camped last summer at the elite camp in early June. Didn't get the offer then. Went about his junior season, had a good year. I think he had like 80 plus tackles. He's a really productive player at the safety position. Then he committed to Houston, and then Texas had the staff shakeup a little bit with Gideon leaving and some of the defensive staff leaving. Dwayne Akina comes in. Kenoto Hudson, who's obviously been on the staff, but obviously elevated to the Nichols coach position. They go out and offer Yaheem Riley recently while he was committed to Houston. They got him on campus a couple times this spring. And then he decommitted from Houston. And then, at that point, you're like, okay, it's just a matter of when, not really if, he's going to be in this class. And then, last Friday was the day he picked. So 2 really big additions last week. Again, Bishop, I think we're slotting him with the cornerbacks right now, just in terms of kind of numbers. So if you include him, Yaheem Riley at safety, and then Hayward Howard Jr., who committed a couple weeks prior or the week prior. That's 3 really nice gets so far early in this 2026 class for Texas. And, they've been climbing the rankings. I think they're 25 right now at last check. So, they're looking pretty positive entering what's going to be a very busy summer.
Hank, I've talked to you about this before, but what Steve Sarkisian and his coaching staff do very well is find those diamond in the rough guys, maybe those 3 stars or a lower 4-star, and then they rely on their development process, and those guys become future draft picks. You think about Yaheem, and Austin area kid, you always want to get those kids that, right up the street. But what separates Yaheem as a 3-star that, okay, Steve Sarkisian and Pete Kwiatkowski, they clearly see something in him to where he could be a high-quality player in the next few years?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like about him. I've seen some, again, you made the note of like, good afternoon. they don't miss on Austin area DBs. You know, Johnny Barron, Michael Taff. I mean, these guys typically work out. Obviously, the guys that work with Bam, I know Chip's profiled some of his guys on Horns 24/7, and Jordan Scruggs writes about those guys all the time. Those guys usually have a pretty good success rate, if not like 100% success rate there in terms of their production at the college level. Yaheem Riley, Texas has seen him. Obviously they're very familiar with him being in Austin. He played at LBJ last year. He's at Anderson now, so they'll still be able to see him very easily. He's been to their camp. He's been around them. He's been around the program. You just turn on his tape. Like I said, I mean, I think stats, I need to pull them up, like 80 tackles, 6 pass breakups, 3 picks. He's really productive. He's really rangy. He just, he can probably move around too in the secondary. You don't have to stick him at safety. He could probably move up and play a little nickel as well with his physicality. So I think they just love the versatility. They love that, he's a local player. You want to keep your best guys home if you can. If there's a need, obviously it has to all work out on both sides. But I just think there's a lot of upside there. Again, the 3 stars, you kind of can't always look at that. Like we mentioned with Hayward Howard, like any kid from like Southern Louisiana, Mississippi, like 3 stars from that part of the country, like those are probably 4 stars anywhere else, if not 5s. They're talented kids. So they like him a lot. They've seen him a lot. I think they have a pretty good idea of what they're going to get in him, and they made a push.
Well, we've got a totally random question here from Naaman. Hank, do you know anything about Jaden Bryant, the 6'4", 240 defensive end from Irmo High School in Columbia, South Carolina? I'm friends with his uncle.
Interesting. I'm going to search. Okay, we have a 24/7 profile for him. And he is a 4-star edge rusher. Class of 2027. He's got a impressive little offer list going. Not even little, like a dozen offers, SEC offers, ACC. I have not heard anything in terms of his connection to Texas yet, but now that you mentioned him,
name worth dropping.
What's that?
Might be a name worth dropping.
Yeah, a name worth dropping. See what I did there?
All right,
no, I'm just joking. No, I haven't heard about him, but he looks like he's the real deal. So we'll have to keep an eye on him.
Yo, don't sleep on those South Carolina boys. Yeah. Xavier Leggett, they be eating raccoon and possum and stuff. That means they're down for anything.
Disgusting.
Exactly. I want that type of guy on my team. You know what I'm saying?
In the trenches on rabies shots and whatnot.
He's out there hunting by the garbage cans for some raccoon.
Hey, you need in the trenches.
Jaden, what are you doing? Shh. I'm hunting raccoon out at the garbage cans, okay? I'm going to have some grill meat tonight.
Hey, put a little barbecue sauce on it. Sop that raccoon up. That's good eating right there if you fry it right.
That is horrible. Hank, give us your take on all these preseason rankings coming out. Arch Manning. Some people have him in the top 10. Greg McElroy says I can't rank him because he hadn't played enough. But I reserve the right to move him up quickly if he plays well. What are realistic expectations for Arch?
Yeah. See, I think that's like the silliest thing you can say. And I love Greg McElroy. Like, I think he's great. But, like, I'm not going to say he's going to be good until I see him play good. Like, yeah. It's like, so, I don't know, really going out on a ledge. But
right. Come on. Project a little, Greg.
You
saw some stuff.
We have I think we have a pretty adequate sample size of Arch Manning. We saw him start 2 games, played most of
11.
Yeah. I mean, like, he looks like the real deal. It's not like he's coming out of high school this year to start as a true freshman. Like, this is a 3rd-year player coming into the program, a guy that, Steve Sarkisian, AJ Milwee, they have a pretty good pulse on quarterback play. This is the guy.
And he was the number 1 overall recruit, right?
Yeah. And, you hear him talk, you go to his availabilities when we're able to see him, and, he does everything right at so far. We did that roundtable on Horns 24/7. I forgot a few months ago, kind of the realistic expectations. I'm not going to come out here and say like he's going to win the Heisman, but I think he's going to be like a top 3 quarterback in the SEC, which I think would in turn put him, in the top tier in the nation. Texas got him help this year in the recruiting cycle, or in the, high school recruiting, then obviously in the portal with Jack Indries, Emmett Mosley. He's got guys around him. I think the defense, he's going to be able to lean on the defense a little bit. I think those guys are going to make it a little bit easier, less pressure on the offense to need to get into, back and forth scoring matches. So I don't know to put numbers on it. I forgot what I put on that round table, but, I think he's, top tier quarterback in the SEC. He's up there with, Lenore Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier. I think that's kind of your top 3, in my opinion, among the SEC.
Where are you on John Mateer at OU?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I actually did, I did a story 2 weeks ago on each of Texas's opponents and their top portal pickup. I didn't realize how good of numbers John Mateer had. And I will say, and he's a dual threat guy.
He's a lot like Sam Levitt at Arizona State.
Yeah. So, he's legit. Sorry, let me text this person real quick that's calling me.
No, it's all right. You're busy. You got things going on. We can fill until you're.
Everyone likes to call me right when I get on YouTube.
I'm going to call Hank at 2:15, 2:27 on Tuesday.
Yeah. But no, Mateer seems like the real deal. I question, what he has around him that's going to, help him showcase that. I think it's only up for Oklahoma in terms of what they did. They went out and beat Bama last year. That was, pretty solid of a win, but, and they have some good young pieces, but, you look at who Washington State played last year, they're not in a conference, or they're in that kind of purgatory. What was it? Where they're playing Mountain West
Pac-12
teams.
Mountain West hybrid.
Yeah. And so he was putting up numbers on San Jose State, I don't have their schedule pulled up, but it's not like he's he has to come prove that against SEC competition now. So, but I think he could be a top half of the league quarterback. I think he's a stud. I think we had him ranked number 1 or the number 1 quarterback. I think, if it wasn't Nico in the portal.
In the portal.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Again, I just, who's around him that, can bring that out of him. So we'll see.
Hank, what kind of year are you expecting for Malik Muhammad? Because I thought this past year, I guess from his freshman season to his sophomore season, me personally, I was expecting a bigger jump. And it wasn't like he was bad, but when you have so much talent in last year's secondary with Mookie Taft, Andrew Makuba, Jade Barron, you have to pick on someone. I thought at times he was the weak link with that. Yeah. This year could be a contract year for him. Are you expecting him to have that big of a season where we don't see Manny Muhammad for a senior year, or just what are you expecting from?
Yeah, I think he's solid. You don't hear anything you don't hear about him having issues, getting picked on in practice or anything. He's just a steady player. And yeah, so you kind of look at the schedule. Defenses had to go up against, they had to pick which side they were going to go against last year. And, if you got to pick Malik Muhammad or Jade Barron or, which side you're going to go towards, obviously it's going to probably end up going to the younger guy. But I think he could have a pretty strong season. I know we just did a PFF, put him as a top 10 cornerbacks to watch. There's some first round buzz for him too. You don't want to put pressure on the guys or get ahead of yourselves for some of these guys, but, the opportunity is there for the taking. If he can kind of round back into that form he was as a freshman, stay healthy and contribute that way. But yeah, I think I think he's primed for a pretty big year. And I think it says a lot the fact that he's kind of manned that position when they do have a ton of talent on the back end of the defense, and it's all the question's been who's going to play opposite him. It's not going to be who's going to push Malik Muhammad for a spot. It's who's going to play opposite. So I think he's in line for a pretty solid season.
Yeah, that cornerback room is talented. In the spring, it was Jalen Gilbo, Malik Muhammad, Kobe Black, Warren Roberson, Santana Wilson. He might have had more interceptions in spring ball than anyone.
Yep.
And Cade Phillips, the man with the 6'4", 5'1" man with the 6'5" wingspan. So that's a loaded room. And Derek Williams coming back, probably going to be playing star.
Yeah. And they moved they're experimenting with Ryan Niblett, star too,
and Grayson Littleton.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the room that, people are like, oh, okay, there's no drop off there despite, losing the Thorpe Award winner and in Makuba. I think they're ready to keep humming.
Hank, Sean Miller got new player, freshman, Britain. How do you pronounce his name?
Who knows?
I mean,
it looks like you have to say it with your pinky up or something. That's the type of name Homeboy has. Like
Louis Obiora.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you lose Vince into the portal, so you lose a little size there. You go out and get Louis O from Barking Abbey. Sounds
Abbey.
Sounds like he's going to come play soccer.
Downton Abbey. Where old people are rich and stuffy. I hope he's a better, hungrier basketball player than those rich, old, stuffy people in Downton Abbey.
He was like a stud. He averaged a double-double. He was the English prep player of the year. I've seen him listed at 7.2. I've seen him listed at 7.1. I mean, does it really matter at that point? You're 7+. I think you're in good shape.
Who's the best NBA player from England?
I couldn't tell you one NBA player from England.
I couldn't tell you one either, and that's saying a lot.
I'm saying our boy Obiora or whatever, he could be the trendsetter. I don't know any good English basketball players.
Eric Boateng.
Okay. All right.
For some reason, Ben Gordon's on here. Ben Gordon's from Brooklyn. Ben Gordon, they count him from England? Yeah. I don't think this is accurate.
Prince eBay was from London. He was born in London.
Oh wow.
He played high school basketball in Texas.
Role player. Yeah.
Yeah, but I checked with one source. He's there's not a lot of info on him outside of just highlights on Instagram, but I was told he is 245 pounds. So he's like a dude in the middle. So the guy that broke it, I think he what's his name? I should probably find his name before I just say the guy that broke it. The guy from NBA Draft Central. I don't know. He's going to be like a role player. I think that's probably pretty accurate. You're bringing in a freshman to American college basketball from London. Probably going to take a minute to get adjusted. But, I mean, Sean Miller loves the international guys. So, they got that dude from Matas Vocatitis. I have the pronunciation. Texas sent it out in the press release. So,
so now I'm butchering it.
FAU, but obviously from Lithuania. So they got their guys. So I guess that leaves two scholarship spots left if we're going 13. So, it was this time last year. They didn't even, start recruiting Arthur Kaluma until June. So, I mean, it seems like it's late in the cycle, but there's still time to bring in more guys as they continue to evaluate. So pretty solid roster coming together, I'd say, if you put it all together.
Especially those guys who are in the draft process right now who are realizing that the NBA isn't in their future just yet, so they should go back to college.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Camden Heide.
Yeah.
As an outside shooter at 6'7".
Yeah.
Okay.
That guy is an X factor.
He's played on a team that, they lost to Houston by 2 in the Sweet 16. Purdue's obviously a legit basketball program, so he's played at a high level.
Played in the Natty
amidst a high level. Ago. Yeah. Yeah. That too. So yeah.
That guy is my X factor going into the year.
Interesting.
I like that.
6'7", 3-point shooter. That's a matchup problem right there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
He's bouncy. He gets off the ground fast. It's just weird. his stats last year, like 3 points a game 2 years ago, 4 points a game this year.
Well, he was stuck behind established dudes, but whenever he came in, he was making plays. That's why Purdue is sick about losing him, because he was ascending, and Texas was like, hey, why don't you take a look over here? How you like West Lafayette compared to Austin, Texas, baby? We got a little NIL over here that Purdue don't got. So why don't you come and be our, honey badger, X Factor. Yeah.
It'll be a pretty fun team next year. I mean, you look at all these guys they're adding. I mean, Traore from Xavier, like we didn't even get to see what he did last year. He was going to be their starting center last year on
sure.
On Xavier.
And he's an animal. When he's physically right, he's an animal. I mean, he's a double-double a game. 10 rebounds.
Yeah. Welcher from St. John's was a guy they were sick about losing. I mean, like you're doing pretty good when you're taking all everyone's like most exciting players for next year to your team. So, yeah, it should be an interesting year. We'll know right out of the gate when they play Duke, freaking first game of the season.
Of course, not at Cameron Indoor in Charlotte.
Right. Yeah, that's a plus, I guess, for Texas. But
I wanted to go to Cameron Indoor.
Yeah.
I've never gotten to cover a game there because every time Texas has played Duke, it's been at a neutral site.
Where was it in 2005 when Texas wore the black jerseys?
It was in New Jersey.
That's right. They just got smacked.
Oh, JJ Redick, 41 points.
And Texas was really, really good that year, too. Like, they were like a very good team.
Yes.
That was the Elite Eight year.
Yeah, the next year. That was the 05-06 team that should have gone to the Final Four. Lost to LSU
in the overtime in the Elite Eight with Big Baby.
Big Baby and Tyrus Thomas.
Black Saturday.
I told this to Zay yesterday. I had Glenn Big Baby Davis standing almost on my laptop on the scorers table with a feather boa, cussing, dropping more F-bombs after that win than you can ever possibly imagine. I thought he was going to literally step on my laptop or me, but he got up on that table without falling over. Anyway, go ahead, Zay. You got one more.
I got one more. Hank, what do you think about this baseball team rolling into the SEC tournament in Mobile, Alabama?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes. I think the fact that they won the SEC regular season title in year one with everything they went through, a coaching change, a new roster, injuries to your ace pitcher, injuries to Max Ballou, other injuries and setbacks. I mean, and the fact that they went out and did what they did, I think says a lot. And to kind of bounce back and, they got smacked in the face against Arkansas up in Fayetteville and came back and, still pulled out the rest of the season, regular season. I'll be excited or curious to see how this tournament goes. Because Bama just played, right? They just played Missouri just now. So Texas plays. I need to look at the bracket. I'm they can get the bats going. If Ballou can, continue his trajectory, if the pitching can kind of get worked out, and maybe they can tinker with some things in this tournament and kind of see how they want to go. Because there's no pressure for the SEC tournament. Like, kind of just figure out how you're going to go into the postseason at this point, and who you're going to roll out, what you're going to do with pitching and lineups and all that. So. I think they've been really fun to watch. So I'll be curious to see how this goes this week, and then on to the regional.
Schloss. Excuse me. Schloss said winning the SEC regular season title is harder than winning the national championship. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and what, 10 teams are ranked right now? 11 teams?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Texas's frontline pitching is okay. It's not great.
Yeah.
But their pitching depth, their middle relief, their setup guys, their closer is the SEC Freshman of the Year and is now a semifinalist for the Golden Spikes Award, which is a National Player of the Year award. And that's where Texas is is outpacing people. Because you look at, the lefty Caden Anderson at LSU. You look at Zach Root at Arkansas. You're probably going to take some of these other, Aiden King at Florida, for God's sake, their freshman Sunday starter. You probably take some of these guys ahead of any of the number ones now at Texas. Jared Spencer was money. But where the other teams, they don't have Max Grubbs. They don't have Thomas Burns. They don't have Grayson Saunier. They don't have Ruger Riojas. So that's where they're going to have to win it. I mean, Texas is going to have to, take teams deep into the innings like they did against the Witherspoons from Oklahoma, who were excellent for 6+ innings. But as soon as you got to the OU bullpen, whap, whap, whap. Here come the runs. There it goes.
Yeah.
And that's what Texas has been doing to people. So,
you guys have been covering it. You and Eric have been all over it.
Well, it's fun. It's a fun team to watch. All right, Hank, anything else that is top of the notebook? Anything we can everyone needs to get to Horns 24/7 because the stories are popping left and right.
Yeah. I mean, the commitments the last couple of weeks have been big. OV season, we're 20th. Really, it starts nationwide like the end of May 30th, May 31st, or whatever that weekend is. Texas is really going to get going on June 6th through 8th. That's like their first big one. And that weekend was like actually starting out it's like 5 guys. Now, by my count, it's up to 12 right now. So you go 12, about 22, 24 the next weekend, and then probably 15 plus the next weekend. So, June's going to be really busy. That rolls right into kind of commitment season in July. I've already seen, 6 big targets, roughly 6 set commitment dates, whether it's the receiver from Oklahoma, Mason James, on June 25th. We got Caden Finley, Jermichael's son, announcing on 4th of July. There's always one 4th of July guy. There's always one. So
just ruins it for everybody.
It really, it's I will say it was kind of frustrating last year with Decorian Moore because, he started his live and it was like an hour and a half. Like I'm over here like trying to have a 4th of July party, and then it's his day. So, but give us time.
Hour and a half. Come on, do it in 5 minutes.
As long as there's a time, just step away from the festivities for a second. But it's going to be a really busy summer. That rolls right into to fall camp, and what's interesting this year is there's all of July is a dead period. So we go official visit season June 23rd, then it's dead until August, which is crazy. And I think August is typically dead too until like that last week because they let some of the schools that have those kind of week 0 games host kids. So the next 4 weeks are this is the recruiting home stretch. So sort of. What
is your right now way too early gut on Texas, Ohio State?
I just think, and I don't want to sound like a Texas homer. I just think Ohio State's replacing too much at key positions for a week 1 game, and it's 11 a.m. Not that. I mean, most Ohio State games are seemingly at 11 a.m. But
unless they move that game,
if they move it, which they could. I just think Texas has too much. I think they're going to throw too many things at whoever the starter is for Ohio State, whether it's Julian Sayin or Kindholes, if that's how you say his name. I think I think PK is going to have fun with that game and kind of unleashing, just like the insane amount of talent they have off the edge from Texas, or doing whatever they want to do really with blitz packages.
And they had a great coverage plan for Jeremiah Smith in the CFP semifinal.
Yeah. And so I think it's going to be a little bit too much to ask for Ohio State to come out, replace 2 coordinators. I just don't see Brian Hartline outsmarting Pete Kwiatkowski. I don't. And, obviously Ryan Day has a huge say in their offense, but I think that one, I think that's a good matchup for Texas week 1. They're going to have the revenge factor. So I think Texas edges out, score prediction. I don't know, like 35-28, or maybe not even. I don't know. I think Texas wins that game. And so, yeah, I just think it's too much to ask of Ohio State, coming off a national championship year. I think Texas has too much coming back. Obviously, they got Jeremiah Smith. They're Ohio State. They have talent. They have Caleb Downs on the back end, but they lost a lot off their defensive front.
A lot on defense.
They lost both of their running backs to the draft. So yeah, and I think Texas just matches up well with them. So I think Texas will pull it out.
Yeah,
all right,
it's gonna be fun. Hank, you're the man. I know you're going 100 miles an hour. Let's do it again next week.
Appreciate it. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. Hank South, managing editor, horns247.com. I agree. I look at the Ohio State game. I'm starting to really dive into Ohio State now. And, we don't know what they have at quarterback. Julian's saying he could be amazing. I don't know. They got Jeremiah Smith. He's arguably the best offensive player in the country. And they've got Caleb Downs, who's arguably the best defensive player in the country. Outside of that, they got a lot to replace. Now, they're Ohio State. They could have been recruiting great, ready to reload. But Barry Switzer told me in a big game, if everything else is pretty much equal, who's got the best quarterback wins the game. I'll take Arch Manning over whoever Ohio State puts on the field.
I agree.
24-20.
Early prediction, 24-20.
24-20.
All right. I like it. I mean, that'd be a good day. And who knows if they'll change the game, make it a night game. I know we're all hoping for that. As a media guy, I could care less. I actually like the noon game, especially when we do the post-game show here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. I don't know about y'all, but I love my wife, so it's nice to spend quality time with her in the heat of the football season, even though that would be the first week. But, yeah.
We love around here.
Love around here. Yeah, that will always be a thing on Chip and Zay. But this defense, I couldn't be more excited to see what they're made of. I couldn't be more excited to see this interior defensive line that this coaching staff's done a terrific job and putting together through the transfer portal. I mean, you think about Murad Watson, who could be the surprise of the SEC. Like that dude coming from Fran Brown's Syracuse Orange, he was a problem last year. And we know what Pete Kwiatkowski and Kenny Baker have done these past few years. I thought Kenny Baker always should get love on this show, especially with the shoes that he had to fill with Bo Davis moving on to the National Football League. But, LaVon Johnson, when Steve Sarkisian was talking to our guys, Kurt Bowles and Cedric Golden on their podcast the other day, I heard Sark talking about, how Justice Terry came along late during the spring, which I know he's been working with the edge guys, but that just kind of shows the versatility that he has as a pass rusher or a young player here in this system. So there's just so many different guys. This secondary should be good. What is Brad Spence going to bring to go along with LaFau and Anthony Hill and how good they are together another year together in Ant Hill's contract season? Everybody wants to know about Colin Simmons. Like, they got dudes, man. They got dudes. Some more experienced than others, but I think that leadership with Mookie Taft and, guys like Trey Wisner and guys like DJ Campbell is really going to come into play, because that's all these guys have ever known is a winning mentality playing in the college football semifinals these last 2 years. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited about Jack Injuries, Emmett Mosley the fifth. I'm excited to see what these guys are made of, and hopefully the talent can take a lot of pressure off of Arch Manning to where he doesn't have to go out there and be Captain Save a Team. You know what I'm saying? Like, hopefully, could just move the chains, make plays when he has to. But when you have a lot of talent on your squad, they can make you look good. Ryan Wingo can make you look good. DeAndre Moore can make you look good. Trey Wisner can make you look good. Hopefully, the defense can also put them in good situations to where you have good field position, so it makes life easier and you don't have to do 90-yard drives and 80-some yard drives all the time, because that's a thing. Like, it's easier for a quarterback to have good field position to not. Like, that's just OG football, Vince Lombardi type stuff right there. So again, this team, they're still a work in progress in a way, but coming into this game, I like their chances more than I like Ohio State's.
Well, this defense is going to have a chance to be the hero on August 30th, because you got to think this is going to take a minute for this offense with all these new faces. Arch, the new offensive line, 4 new starters on the offensive line, new tight end, blah, blah, blah. It could take a minute. And Ohio State could be, Matt Patricia was an absolute ass clown in Detroit.
Wow.
But he might be, and he was the worst. One of the worst NFL head coaches in the last 30 years.
30 years?
30, maybe 40, maybe 50.
Man,
Matt Patricia was god-awful. All one word, god-awful.
I mean, it takes a village to be that bad. It couldn't have just been one guy.
No, not with those Belichick assistants. Eric Mangini, he burned it to the ground all by himself. Matt Patricia burned it to the ground. Bill O'Brien had the most success of any of the Belichick assistants, and Texans fans couldn't wait to get rid of him. But I digress. Matt Patricia, maybe he's all got it figured out as the Ohio State defensive coordinator replacing Jim Knowles. And maybe Brian Hartline is Houdini as the offensive coordinator. I'm not counting on it. I think Texas has, I'm not going to say a big advantage, but I think they're the better team at quarterback. I think a lot of the other positions are probably going to, Jeremiah Smith, he wins. But Pete Kwiatkowski, what'd they limit Jeremiah Smith to? 3 catches for nothing last year?
I don't know the exact number, but
take a little look.
More than 4 catches.
Take a little look.
What was number 17's name? He was solid, and then Emeka Mbuka was good.
Jeremiah Smith. One catch for 3 yards.
Yeah.
1 catch for 3 yards. That was keeping Andrew Makuba over the top of him the whole game and them trying to feed everyone else. G. Scott, Emeka Mbuka, and Carnell Tate.
That's it, Carnell Tate.
7.
They're expecting him to be next up.
What's that?
Carnell Tate. Everybody's expecting him to take a leap to be one of the best wide receiver 2s in all of college football. And you saw flashes. The dude could play. He was at wide receiver 3 this past season from Becca, obviously. But if he could step up, that's somebody that you're going to have to worry about. And they're going to test Jalen Gilbo. Like, okay, you think you can be on the outside? We'll see. They're going to test all those guys, man, which I think the secondary, very eager to see what they're all about, because hearing Derek Williams at the star position, that makes my ears perk a little bit, because that's
6'2", 195 pounds. Come on, man.
Hope he can stay healthy. I mean, you're throwing him into the fire. Like, that star position, it ain't easy. Like, I think a lot of guys should be paid more for playing that spot in the National Football League. I think it needs more respect, especially with how the passing game is utilized in today's game. But yeah, Derek Williams coming off that injury, which I'm sure that process is going well. You got the best doctors in all of Texas here at UT, so I'm sure the rehab process A-okay right now, but still getting over the mental aspect of, okay, I'm still that guy. I'm still that hard-hitting SOB that Steve Sarkisian recruited from Louisiana. Can I bring that to the table? I think he can. I hope he can, but still has to prove it. And even if that's not the case, you have so many different guys that are so versatile, man. Like Dwayne Aquina, Mark Orfe, they're going to have a blast just moving guys around and being like, okay, let's try this. Let's try that. Jordan Johnson Rebel, he's versatile. Let's see what we can play him. Jelani McDonald, who could do anything. Let's see what we could do with him. Mookie Taft, just his leadership and what he brings as basically a quarterback on the defensive end. Like, there's just so many good moving pieces that you have with this secondary. Kobe Black, Xavier Filsaime, Wardell Max, Tanner Wilson. So many guys that I bet.
Jonah Williams.
Jonah Williams. Hey, don't sleep on Jonah Williams. You're right. Like,
Jonah Williams, he's like, I'll be ready. He's like, don't ask me about football during baseball season. But once football season comes, don't ask me about baseball.
Is that Dion? That sounds like Dion. I watched that, by the way, in your honor, because you've been telling me to watch that for.
How good was it?
It was really good.
Baseball, really good. He only signs Dion.
Yeah.
Football, he signs Prime.
I get it. They kind of screwed him over, which was sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they screwed my man Dion over.
Those Braves were so desperate to win, they hung a player out to dry. I mean, that Braves management, that was some of the biggest choking ever. I mean, think about the staff they had with Glavin and yeah, I mean,
Smoltz,
Steve Avery, Smoltz. I mean, that pitching staff was so ridiculous. And then,
yeah, how they only win one? That's depressing.
Man, Chipper Jones.
Yeah, they're like the 08 Boston Celtics.
Yeah,
but without the history.
Yeah.
Every time I think of Maddox and Glavin, I think of Chicks Dig the Long Ball. That was my favorite commercial back in the day. That commercial was dope. Oh, Heather Locklear. What a Locklear? Locklear. Yeah. She's before my time, but I knew who she was. Oh,
she was Richie Sambora's wife. Then he dumped her.
He dumped her?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's a pretty G move. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and she went a little batty after that. Or maybe she was going batty before, but yeah.
Batty means good. You might have to.
Okay. Let me change that up.
Yeah, change that up. She
went a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Okay, there we go.
So batty is good?
Batty is good. If you're a batty.
Okay, batty. Sorry.
Top of the line.
Baddy.
Yeah.
I was trying to be like Battysh blank T, you know?
Like Sophie Cunningham, WNBA player that is thrown in this whole affair mess with the CEO of the Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury, the WNBA team. She's a baddie.
Well, hopefully that's coming up in the right call because I need to hear.
I have a lot of right call stuff. I'm not going to lie. This could come up now if we needed to. There's a lot of stuff in the right call box.
Oh, yeah. And Heather Locklear was Tommy Lee's first wife before he went after Pam Anderson?
Oh, that makes sense. He had a type, man. He definitely had a type. What band was he in? Motley Crue? What was he in?
There you go.
See, yeah. Surprised some of y'all there. Y'all didn't think your boy Zay knew all that. Yeah. Old Tommy Lee. Horrible sex tape. Awful. One of the worst. Like, come on. This is what you and Pam are doing, bro? I don't think y'all would be going crazy here. This is very amateur.
It's no Kim Kardashian and Ray J.
Theirs was weak, too. Theirs was
What
weak.
about Paris Hilton?
Weak. Horrible.
Is there a good one?
No.
Help the people.
Nah, nobody really has a good one. They
Help
just
the people
have
as they look for this in their local XXX shop.
I mean, they just have them. It's all the status of the name. It's never really the performances. It's always very mediocre. Yo, okay, Roy. China, the wrestler, God bless her soul. She was wilding. She might have the best one. She talk about completely lost it. Triple H. I love Triple H, man. He's doing well with the WWE and all, but he made her lose her mind. It was all, I blame Triple H. Sorry, because him and China were a thing. And the Triple H left China and married the boss's daughter, who they're still married to this day. And then China lost it right after that. Just like that. Now, obviously, you can't put it on Triple H, but Triple H ain't help.
Because she's no longer with us, right?
No, she's no longer with us. And she was doing reality shows and then porn with another wrestler, X-Pac. But then she
had that horrible voice. Hey, Zay.
China?
Yeah. It's like all nasally and high.
I don't remember her voice being that bad.
Oh, it's terrible. Go to YouTube after the show and watch a China interview, and you're like,
yeah, because they didn't make her do promos back in the day. She was just all like bodybuilder muscle. She was like the bodyguard for the crew that DX, that they were Shawn Michaels and Triple H. She was like the bodyguard, and she just stood there and was swole and stuff. And then she had some work done, and I ain't gonna lie, she was on Playboy and stuff. She looked pretty good at one time. She had a big transformation. Man.
She had a big transformation.
Oh, speaking of, we had a little teaser yesterday before we had Matt and Patrick on. Speaking of transformation, our girl, Brittany Matthews, just had that third baby. Brittany Matthews looking a little different now, if you know what I'm talking about. Look at that. Brittany Matthews.
Did she get some inflatable devices?
Got some inflatable devices. Absolutely. That a couple of Super Bowls earned a couple of those things right there. That's what Super Bowls get you, Patrick. Well done.
Super Bowls get you fun bags. Wow.
Loyal, man. That's a loyal woman right there. That's a loyal woman.
Yeah.
Like her, I say it all the time. Her, Aisha Curry, Steph's wife, Savannah James, Bron's wife, all those women, they should write books to show what a WAG is supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? How they're supposed to act. Some of these scandalous girls out here embarrassing their man. We haven't heard from Travis Hunter's woman in a long time, have we? They got her right.
You tried to make sure that he dropped her ass.
I don't think he dropped her. I think she just, She just
the
had
whole
to
world's talking about what a loser he is for being with her.
Yeah, but she just had to learn. If he really loves her, then she needs to take a page out of the Brittany Mahomes playbook and understand her role, which is the background, behind the scenes. You
Like
can do
Belichick's girl.
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know Jordan Hudson. I mean, maybe that is her role. I think Bill likes that. I think Bill likes having her out and about and showing her off, because apparently something comes out every other day with Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend, Jordan Hudson. And today, supposedly they're engaged. Allegedly, they're engaged now on the low, which, you know, love's love. If he wants to marry that girl, why not? You know what I'm saying? If he wants her to be in the emails, why not? If he wants her to be a part of all the interviews and stuff, letting them know we ain't talking about that.
Prenup.
No. Let her have the money.
No.
Bill don't got many years.
No.
I hope he does.
Let's have the 49 years younger girl get half.
Who do you want it to go to? Tom Brady?
Oh, it ain't
Somebody
going to
gotta
Tom
get it.
Brady. It could be going to Steve Belichick and his wife. Steve Belichick and his wife are so mad. Steve Belichick's wife went on Twitter roasting Jordan.
No, she didn't.
Well, she basically said there's a place for coaches' wives. It's not on the field.
She ain't say that, man.
Check it out. Look it up. Where are you? You're my man on this stuff.
You're right. I haven't seen anything like it.
How have you not brought me the Steve Belichick spousal slams of Jordan Hudson? Like I count on you.
She wouldn't say that to embarrass the family.
Yeah, I think she's a little fed up.
According to the lead, Steve Belichick's wife doesn't love Bill Belichick's girlfriend, Jordan Hudson.
That's not good.
Tweet.
It's not good.
You need to mind her damn business.
Who?
I would say Steve Belichick's wife.
Oh, yeah, man.
What?
Go ahead. Side with Jordan Hudson.
Absolutely. She didn't mind her damn business.
That's right. She's the
Bill
one
happy or not.
sharing a bed with Bill Belichick.
Exactly. Is Bill happy or not? That's what I'm
Bill
saying. Like,
seems-
who wears the pants, Steve? Because I'll be letting Steve know. Steve, you need to check her. That's my father you talking about. You know what I'm saying? If my wife said anything crazy about Cece's happiness, I'm going to have to check my wife. It is what it is. Cece deserves that respect. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to have to check my wife. My wife would never in a million years, she wouldn't do that. They got a really good relationship, my father and my wife. They be cracking jokes on each other all the time. It's beautiful. But Steve Belichick needs to let his wife know, hey, look, this is the greatest coach of all time. This is my father. I wouldn't be this roof over your head. It's because of him and the game that he gave me. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Nepo baby anyway. I'm glad that he passed down some of his knowledge to me to where I could provide for you. And you out here bashing my father and his happiness? That ain't a good look. That's toxic. We don't need that. Family should be together. Happiness.
You've got North Carolina going 9-3.
Ugh, I thought we changed that. I thought we went 7-5.
Oh, yeah. You said 7-5 as of May 1st.
Yeah. What happened May 1st? I think that was when.
That was when Jordan Hudson in 60 Minutes happened. That's when you were like, yeah, I might need to rethink this.
That's tough. It's tough. The 60 Minutes thing, that did change my mentality on the situation a little bit. But 7-5, that's a bowl game. That might be the toilet bowl, but you bowling.
You bowling.
You take that year one, North Carolina. We care about basketball anyway. You'll take that. You'll take
Right.
that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
With the Jordan Hudson thing,
Go win the Cheez-It Bowl.
go win the Cheez-It Bowl. Go up there, beat Northwestern, beat the hell out of the Minnesota Gophers. You know what I'm saying?
Gophers.
Yeah. And then come back 2026, ready to go. Because, man, I hope it goes well. I don't want to see Bill crash out like that. Because, again, we joke about it because it's fun. All seriousness, it's a circus, boy. Like,
Oh, it's a circus.
if I'm a player.
Circus McGurkus.
Yeah. If I'm a player, like, how do I take him seriously right now? You know what I'm saying? And get Bill Belichick, one of the greatest of all time. If you're a serious football player, you would want to learn from him, but also it's more than just X's and O's as a football coach. The best ones are father figures also. So what Bill's doing to lead by example is a little out there. And this era of athlete is different. The whole TikTok era, Jared McClain, 76er that came from Duke, he just got his own nail polish line. Caleb Williams be painting his nails, Jalen Green. It's a different time. It's fine. You do you. All I know is when it's game time, y'all need to come and perform. That's what y'all are asked to do. That's all I asked. I get it. The game's going to change. The kid's going to change. Is Bill Belichick adapting to all that change? As of now, I can understand why people could question that with some of the things that you're seeing.
Let me ask you something. Mac Brown spent 16 years at North Carolina. He never won a conference championship.
That's crazy.
He's won 2 conference championships in 35 years as a head coach.
It's hard out here.
It's hard out here for a pimp. And he had Vince Young and Colt McCoy as his quarterbacks when he won those conference championships. None else. 2. Steve Sarkisian's been the head coach at Texas for 4 years. He got 1.
Yeah.
I get it. Bobby Bowden was at Florida State when Mac was at Carolina the first time, and he never beat Florida State. In fact, the average margin of defeat was 26 points.
Golly. Like, you got to get lucky sometimes, don't you? Like, never?
Yeah, in fact, it was the last year when North Carolina had Dre Bly and Brian Simmons and Vonnie Holiday, and they were supposed to beat Florida State. They lost 44-3. Then he took the Texas job. He got his ass beat by OU for 5 years. But then Vince Young, baby.
Breakthrough, Mac.
He beat OU in 05 and 06. That was when Aaron Ross picked up that Adrian Peterson fumble and ran it in for a touchdown. 06. And Colt McCoy hit Lima Swede on a wheel route for a touchdown. Suddenly, Texas was smacking OU around. And then they went back to OU winning the Big 12 every year. But Mac, two conference titles. But hey, he's a made man. He won a national championship. 05. Snoop Mac. Yeah.
Snoop Mac. What?
And get this. So from 05 to 09, Texas was 4-1 against OU. Since then, they were 5-11. Guess what? They have a worse record against TCU. That was 3-3 under Patterson. It was bad. 3-9, I think. Gary Patterson owned Texas.
What's Gary doing this upcoming
He's chilling,
season?
man.
He just chilling? Trying to get in that Hall of Fame?
Trying to get in that Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
GP, he had to sit out 3 years from being a head coach to get into that College Football Hall of Fame.
That's stupid. That's a dumb rule. Just if
Right.
you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame and you still want to coach, let them do that. Like, I don't understand it. Like, they do it in basketball. Like, guys that are still coaching, still in the Hall of Fame. Greg Popovich isn't coaching anymore, but when he was, Hall of Fame. John Calipari, Hall of Fame. Like, let these guys do what got them to the Hall of Fame. If they want to continue to do that, like, Gary shouldn't have to leave the game. I know it burns. I know he wakes up with that same drive every morning. And he's like, oh, yeah, I got nothing to do.
Hey, Gary helped Dave Aranda. Baylor's trending in the right direction now. Aranda got in the portal, found some dudes. Like, people are saying Baylor could win the Big 12 next year. They'll be up against Texas Tech, Joey Juice. Joey McGuire thinks he's bought himself a roster.
That's what I'm talking about, Joey.
Baron Morton. I'm still waiting to see who Tech's got on offense. They just lost Taj Brooks to the NFL. That dude was legit. But actually, I don't know.
Hudson back.
Huh?
They got Micah Hudson back. That dude, he went to College Station, looked around and said, what the hell is this?
I need to see some stuff. I need to see some stuff out of Micah Hudson and Jonte Cook before we even talk about these boys anymore.
What Jonte got to do with anything? What?
Well, he was a stud in that same class.
True, but Micah Hudson wasn't getting in trouble.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying I need to see some production on the field. Like, we talk about these guys because of their 5-star ratings coming out of high school. They haven't done anything yet on the football field. That's why you love dudes like Silas Bolden, who are 3-star recruits, and all they do is make plays. I guarantee you that dude makes the Vikings roster as a return guy. It's going to be a fun year, though. It's going to be a fun year because in the Big 12 especially, like, I mean, the SEC is going to reign supreme as always. And it's a minefield. Texas going to have to go to Ohio State, go play DJ Lagway in Gainesville, go play Gunnar Stockton in Athens. I mean, not play a single home game in the month of October. I don't want to hear about Texas having a layup schedule.
Not this year. Can't say
Not
that.
this year. And who else is, I mean, what, LSU is playing Clemson? That's going to be great. Week 1?
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody thinks Garrett Nussmeier is just going to stroll on to New York and steal the Heisman.
Cade Klubnik, baby.
I've been hearing a lot of Garrett Nussmeier. Yeah, Cade Klubnik. I'm high on him this year. That dude surprised the hell out of me in that first round college football playoff game. He was dialed up on the
They were ready to write him off at Clemson, and that dude, you never write him off. He is a warrior, and he's going to have his best year yet. Because that dude, he's an assassin. You got to watch out for Cade Klubnik. And they don't play anybody.
No.
They don't play anybody.
Yeah,
who's
the best team in the ACC?
They don't play. They don't play SMU, I don't think.
Bill gonna get them.
Huh?
Bill gonna get them.
Bill gonna get them.
Don't get them. Don't let that be a matchup, man.
Oh, they do play SMU.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Okay, so LSU, August 30th. 6:30 p.m. on ABC. So I'm hearing they might try to move Texas and Ohio State to Sunday.
Wait, huh?
On Memorial Day weekend. Huh?
No, Sunday.
You're not feeling it?
Nah.
I'm looking at week 1. There is no game. There is no. Well, hold on. Strike that. South Carolina, Virginia Tech at 2:00. Oh, Notre Dame, Miami at 6:30 on Sunday night. So maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe just keep them right there at 11 a.m.
Yeah, it's fine. Kegs and eggs. Like, start your drinking at 6 a.m.
On Fox, they might think they can pull a bigger number than Notre Dame and Miami. But I don't know. I don't know how that.
Man, you kidding me?
Huh?
They definitely would.
I know. But would they do that to each other?
I mean,
Put games right up against each other? Maybe.
It's petty,
Maybe.
but who cares?
Yeah.
Sunday games. I never like Sunday college football. It doesn't feel right.
Even on Memorial Day?
Yeah, even on Memorial.
I mean, Labor Day?
Labor Day, yeah. I don't feel right.
Yeah, this is crazy. Notre Dame, USC. It's the last year. That's crazy. They have no contract to continue the rivalry.
I mean, that's what college
Notre Dame's
right now.
Notre Dame's weird like that. They cut the Michigan rivalry after playing for years. Notre Dame's like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have zero empathy for these people. How long was that A&M game not played? Like, they'd be all right. Like, hopefully it comes back, but that's where college football is right now. Some of these games, with the way these conferences are aligned, they won't be happening no more. That nostalgic feeling, gone for a long time. So, find a new rival. You know what I'm saying?
Well, once we have a college football commissioner who's looking out for the greater good of basically the ESPN conference and the Fox conference, who are going to rule what the next phase of college football looks like, you're going to have divisions instead of conferences. And put some geographic sense back into this thing. But hopefully that day is coming sooner rather than later, because everybody can see that that's what needs to happen. Question is, these TV contracts have to expire before we start thinking about the greater good of college football, because once the 1984 Supreme Court decision went through, Oklahoma and Georgia sued for the right to air their own football broadcasts and won. But instead of schools taking control, they allowed the conferences to negotiate. And from that point forward, it was every conference for itself. And it was never about, hey, how do we all work together to lift up college football? To the point where we lost the Pac-12. It's gone. It's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Losing the Pac-12 killed Bill Walton. You can't tell me otherwise.
Oh, the Conference of Champions.
Killed Bill Walton. Once I had Bill was like, well, Pac-12's gone. Why am I here? What's the point of living anymore?
Who's his broadcast partner out there on those games? Little guy? Oh, he would whip up on that guy.
They wouldn't even be talking about anything. They would just be.
Oh, he'd be talking about tie-dye and, this Great sunset he saw the other night.
Bill did some drugs, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Get through the pain.
Get through the pain, yeah. Oh, John Wooden. This is another reason why John Wooden's a snake. He didn't let Bill Walton smoke the chronic. Bill came to him. He was like, yo, this plant here, it makes me feel good, but also it helps the bumps and the bruises. It gets rid of the pain. John Wooden was like, in his Ferrari, was like, oh, sorry, Bill, can't do it. We just can't do it. But, you know.
They say the only championship game performance better than Vince Young was Bill Walton for UCLA in the 1973 national championship game against Memphis. He scored 44 points on 21 of 22 shooting. UCLA beat Memphis State to win their 7th consecutive national title. Walton scored 44 on 21 of 22 shooting.
Big Red.
They say that's the only championship game performance better than Vince Young.
Yeah.
Who ran for 200, completed 30 of 40 passes, counted for 5 touchdowns against.
When people talk about who Nikola Jokic plays like, I don't think Bill Walton's name comes up enough because people didn't see Bill Walton. Obviously, him playing in the 70s. There's footage, but not as much as other guys who are more current than that. But Bill's game, oh my gosh, one of the best passing bigs of all time. I think he put that 86 Celtics team over the hump because he fit in that scheme perfectly with Bird and McCall and Parrish and those guys. But when he was on the Blazers, before the foot injury started to happen, he was a problem. He was a shot blocker. He could score left or right hand. He had crazy athleticism. It's just the injuries, that foot injury. It was always a problem where he thought they would have to chop his foot off at one point. That's how bad it got. But yeah, Bill Walton, God bless his soul, man. Dude, crazy as hell, but he could hoop. He could flat out ball.
Yeah. All right, let's get a couple mentions in here. Then let's get into some commentary. Hey, Sleep Cycle Center. My guys who snore, you know who you are. You've been listening to me talk about the Sleep Cycle Center. Do yourself a favor. Do whoever you're sleeping next to a favor. And get to sleepcyclecenters.com. Here's why. We got Dr. Chad, who started the Sleep Cycle Center, committed his life to treating sleep apnea because sleep apnea killed his father at the age of 60. Undiagnosed, I mean, you just think it's snoring. But the level of snoring, sometimes you're cutting off your oxygen. You stop breathing. And that cannot happen. So you go to sleepcyclecenters.com, Dr. Chad, tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study. Basically, they're giving it away because they want to make sure that you're properly diagnosed. If you have severe sleep apnea, you need a treatment option. I have sleep apnea. I have an oral device called my mouth guard, holds my lower jaw open, allows me to get that oxygen and deep sleep. Because if you're waking up tired and off every morning, it's probably because you're not getting any deep sleep from sleep apnea. You owe yourself this. Go to sleepcyclecenters.com. Tell them Texas Sports Unfiltered sent you. They're going to take $100 off your sleep study. They got locations at Lakeway and the Arboretum, and they've got all the treatment options. So do it. Do it for yourself. Do it for the person you sleep next to. Audiovisual consultations, our man Tom McKay. When you're ready for the big screen of your dreams, all you got to do is call 255-8678. 512-255-8678. Tom's put big screen TVs into 3 different houses for me. He's put them in your favorite restaurants in Austin. He's the man, and he's a huge Dallas Stars fan. He's so happy and excited he might just give you some kind of crazy deal. AV consultations. They'll put a whole new media room together for you. Big screen TV, surround sound, surveillance, electronic shades, new lighting. They got you covered. avconsultations.com. Just call 255-8678. And hey, cover 3. We got playoffs. We got SEC tournament going on. SEC baseball tournaments going on right now. Head over to cover 3 for some happy hour, 3:30 to 6:30. They got the $7 social hour menu with the firecracker shrimp on it, the bacon deviled eggs. Get in there. Hang out with your homies. Great vibe, great food, high-end food without the high-end prices. The brick chicken and mac and cheese, the Chop House burger, the Sean Adams prime rib sandwich, cover 3 Anderson, cover 3 Round Rock, and cover 2 at 183 and Lake Creek. All right, let's get into this. The SEC baseball tournament is going on SEC Network. I think OU either is beating, I think they are beating Kentucky. Texas will not play till Thursday because they're the number 1 seed. And I wrote a little story today over at Horns 24/7 about the 5 reasons that Texas won the SEC regular season championship. And talked about obviously the incredible relationship between Chris Del Conte and Jim Schlossnagle, which made it possible. But the returning veterans, that core leadership group, Max Ballou, Jalen Flores, Rylan Galvan, Luke Harrison, Max Grubbs, and then the infusion of portal and freshman talent, including Dylan the Praying Mantis Volantis, who's now a semifinalist for the Golden Spikes Award, SEC Freshman of the Year. Guy's got a sub-2 ERA as a freshman. But, the portal additions, Ethan Mendoza, Jared Spencer, Ruger Riojas, Thomas Burns. They identified the talent, brought it in, and developed it. And some guys, I think, are still, we haven't seen a lot of Aiden Moffitt, but he's been good when he's gotten in. They did the right thing. Because remember, A&M, there were a lot of players who were going to follow Schlossnagle to Texas, and A&M forked out the money, overpaid to keep their talent on that roster. And, the Ryan Pregers of the world, the Gavin Grahovics, the Jace Laviolettes. It hasn't happened for A&M. And Max Wiener is one of the reasons Texas won the SEC, because Max Wiener does a great job managing his staff, adding pitches, lowering arm angles, whatever he needs to do. You look at the ERA for Texas this year, it's number 5. Last year was 47 in the nation. Last year, A&M, number 4 in ERA. This year, number 27 with essentially the same staff. So Max Wiener makes an impact. And again, kudos to Jim Schlossnagle. Surrounds himself with great coaches who are going to become head coaches. A's hire A's. B's hire C's. If you don't surround yourself with great coaches, you're not going to win. And Jim Schlossnagle had Kirk Sarloos as an assistant, had Tony, the head coach at Tennessee, as an assistant at TCU. Obviously, Michael Early now at A&M, and Max Wiener probably the next assistant coach to get a head coaching job. But and then the grit, the cohesion of this team, the hunger. This team wants to win. This team wants to be great. They want to win it all. They don't even have the best, they're not the best hitting team. They have the best team ERA, even without Jared Spencer, but that's because of the depth of Texas's pitching. And that pitching depth is essential because in the regional, not so much the super regional, but in Omaha, if you get in the losers bracket, you're going to have to play a ton of games. And you better have pitching depth. And Texas does. Which is why, Vegas probably would set the favorites as LSU, Arkansas in the College World Series because they have better frontline pitching. But Texas has the depth. And they got a bunch of dogs. They got grit. Jim Schlossnagle said, we may not be the most talented team, but we may be the grittiest team in the country. He said, this is the grittiest team I've coached. So as a Detroit Lions fan who, my man, Dan Gamble, his whole thing is grit. I appreciate grit. And I'm excited to watch this Texas baseball team play. Last year I was probably more excited to watch the Texas softball team in the postseason than the Texas baseball team because Texas baseball was kind of all over the place last year. And now I feel like the pitching depth that Texas softball had last year is off. I don't know if it's because they've relied more on Tegan Cavan and it's kind of taken everyone else out of a normal routine. I don't know. Obviously Cambria Salmon, Citlali Gutierrez, Mac Morgan, they can all be very good and have been. But then, there have been instances where they've gone up against really elite competition, OU, A&M, and they did not perform well. So let's see if Texas softball can get on this roll that they're on and stay on it, beat Clemson. Hell, you don't have A&M to deal with in the Women's College World Series now.
Sure don't.
So you've beaten Florida. Tennessee beat you, but let's see if Tennessee handles their business because could be back to Texas and OU again.
So over this Patty Gasso stuff. Who they got in their super regional?
4-time defending national champ. No one's ever won it 5 in a row.
That's insane. It's not normal.
I know.
Nothing normal about that.
And she had her ace pitcher leave. But she picked up the girl from the Sun Belt from Louisiana who's been dynamite.
Where the hell did they find her?
Patty Gasso finds them all, man.
I'm telling you, man, she's doing there's some sketchy stuff going on in Norman in that softball program.
You calling tampering? I mean, who wouldn't want to play for her, though?
I get it, but it's still Norman.
It's like going to, yeah. But that's
it's not like she's putting girls in the league. What league?
But that's where the
All I'm saying, at least when you go with Nick Saban and you're in hell for 4 to 3 years up in Tuscaloosa, you know what's going to come after it, a big-ass contract in the NFL. There ain't no NFL of softball. So it's just, what's going on? What's really going on? It might take 20 years where we'll be sitting here talking about Netflix having a untold story on Oklahoma softball and the sketchy stuff that was going on at Patty Gasso had them girls doing.
Well, hold on a minute there. So OU is going to play Alabama in the Super Regional, and Alabama beat OU. 2-1 in the series in Tuscaloosa earlier this year. So could be interesting.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Postseason comes around. OU is just that championship DNA. She just needs to retire. Can you just retire, Patty Gasso? Before we get to the right call and stuff, let's get back to baseball a little bit before we touch on the right call. Kimball Schuessler was absolutely robbed as a second team member in the SEC. Robbed. Straight up robbery. Like, I get it. It's the SEC. These players are incredible. It's the best conference by far. But Kimball Schuessler, he's a second teamer. Like, for his defensive play, what he provided on the offensive side, like,
he was named to the all defensive team,
which is incredible, especially him being a former catcher. That's a big deal, but that's a second team guy, if you ask me. I know I'm a little biased, but I don't give a damn. I still think he should have been on that second team, but hey, hopefully he could use that as fuel. Shout out to Rylan Galvan, who made first team. Dylan Volantis made first team, and also SEC Freshman of the Year. And I got that video of Jim Schlossnagle telling Dylan Volantis he was SEC Freshman of the Year. It's a great video that Texas Baseball put up on their social media accounts.
I have something to add to that. You know what I know now that I wish you knew then? Do you know Galvan? I think so. This guy's the SEC Freshman of the Year.
Hey, I think we know something too.
Yeah,
You want to share?
I got one thing for us. How about our SEC Coach of the Year,
That's a team that they like each other, man. They're having fun playing together, and they got dogs. But yeah, Kimball Schuessler, that dude is so understated. And his transition from catcher to first base has been fantastic. The fact he's batting over 300, clutch hits, had 8 RBI in one series against Auburn, one game, 8 RBI in one game. Schuessler is clutch. And if it's not Schuessler, it's Galvan. If it's not Galvan, it's Ballou. If it's not Ballou, it's Flores. These guys have been coming up with clutch hits all year. I mean, Galvan's walk-off home run against Georgia, the 3-run homer by Ballou against OU, the grand slam by Jalen Flores against Texas State. It's been one guy after another. Schuessler, I mean,
Robbed. What a hose job. What a hose job. I can't get over it. Like,
who did they have at first? Jared Jones of LSU at second team and Andrew Fisher of Tennessee.
They do it by position, or does it matter?
They do it by position.
Okay, that's tough.
But
that's tough.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Like, if I have to leave off a outfielder because we got 3 all-world first basemen, I'm good with that. Like, it should be the best players, regardless of position, should make it. Like, football might be the only sport where I'm okay with it going by position. But besides that, I don't know, man. But
yeah, Fisher's batting 337 with 22 home runs, 5 RBI. Yeah, he's having a ridiculous season.
That's a second team guy?
No, that's the first team. The second team guy, Jared Jones of LSU. Let me see what he's doing.
What's his stats talking about, man? I don't know about
Okay,
that.
Jared Jones. He's batting 344
Ooh, good.
with 19 home runs and 66 RBI.
Yeah, okay. Damn. Them boys raking. I can't even front. Yeah, they ain't. If you're going by position, there ain't no room for Kimball Schuessler there. That's
Yeah.
raking.
But we know that Schuessler's been rock solid.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the right call.
Let's get it. But first, shout out to our amazing sponsors here at Texas Sports Unfiltered, like McCall Custom Homes. If you're thinking about renovating your home, trust the experts that have been doing it for over 40 years. Whether it's your kitchen, bathroom, your outdoor space, McCall Custom Homes will take care of you. They're licensed and insured, top quality at affordable prices, in-house architects. They will handle the permitting process, and they will work with your insurance to help it go along as smooth as possible to where you're not breaking the bank. And hey, Call Custom Homes, they're the guys you can rely on. They will turn your house into a home. They're Austin Knights, and if you want to see their amazing work, check them out on Facebook, check them out on Instagram. Search for McCall Custom Homes. Give our boy Mike a call at 512-633-9580. That's 512-633-9580. Shoot them an email at mike@mccallcustomhomes.com and up their website at mccallcustomhomesatx.com. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home. And Covert B Cave, Covert Automotive Dealership, that have been doing it in the greater Austin area for over 100 years and been doing it well. If you don't want to take my word for it for how good Covert B Cave is, well, listen to these fine folks.
It's really a family experience. You know, I walked in the showroom today and everybody greeted me by name. How are you doing? What's going on? How's everything going?
From a price standpoint, from a customer service perspective, just conversation when you come in, it feels no pressure. I want to buy cars here.
The family buying car experience, one of the best that you will ever have.
Come and experience it for yourself.
Covert, born and raised in Austin.
Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. And Leaf Landscape Supply. If you're looking for large quantities of supplies to fulfill any landscaping job, trendy house plants, a collection of specialty plants and rare plants, Leaf Landscape Supply is the place to be. Go visit both of their amazing locations. If you're down south, go check them out off of 290 in Monterey Oaks. If you're up north, go check them out off of Pond Springs Road. Full service wholesale and retail plant nursery and landscape supplier that has a terrific online setup if you want to shop online at leaflandscapesupply.com, where you can get chemicals and fertilizer, bagged soil, fruit, different pottery, seeds, tools, everything and in between. And remember, when you go in and you make a purchase, only when you go in the stores, you cannot do this online. Let them know you heard from Texas Sports Unfiltered. You heard from your boy Zay Collier on Ship and Zay, and you get 10% off. Can't beat that. 10% off at Leaf Landscape Supply. All right, Chip, we got a lot of things that we could get into for the right call today, some messier than others, but let's start with a wholesome story, because tonight we start the Western Conference Finals in the NBA. The Minnesota Timberwolves will be at Oklahoma City playing the Thunder, and the Thunder, quick turnaround, boy. You just got done a very emotional series this past Sunday against the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic. It was a masterclass by Alex Caruso. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the man, and love the storyline between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his cousin, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Both of those guys have been talking about their relationship as cousins, where Shai says they're basically brothers, and Nickeil, he was asked about their relationship, and he said, I guess Nickeil's mom and Shai's dad are siblings. So Nickeil's mom texted the family and was like, oh, it's on. It's war right now. So obviously they're having fun with that. And years down the line, they'll be able to reflect on how monumental this was for the family. But yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a series. I think
I got the T-Wolves.
you got the T-Wolves. I like it. I think Julius Randle is the X factor for the Minnesota Timberwolves. For the Thunder, I think it's Jalen Williams, Santa Clara Jalen Williams. Both of those guys are the number 2 options of their teams. It's going to be interesting what the coaches do with one another and how they're going to go about their business. We saw Mark Daigneault make a hell of a move by putting Alex Caruso on Nikola Jokic. So are we going to see anything like that? The game within the game. I'm always looking for that, see who has the advantage there. Who's going to stop Anthony Edwards? Who's going to stop Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? You know, how much Jaden McDaniels, DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker are you going to spend on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then vice versa. When you look at Alex Caruso, when you look at Lou Dort, you look at Jalen Williams, how are they going to spend time guarding Anthony Edwards? So that's going to be very interesting. What are the bigs going to do with Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren? How is Rudy Gobert going to play in this series? I could see it going 7 either way, but I don't know who has the upper hand. And what are those stars going to do? How is Anthony Edwards going to go about his business? Because this could be a Dwayne Wade with his D-Wade's first ring with Miami, even though Mavericks fans think that thing was rigged, and Mark Cuban and all them, which it was a little sketchy. It seemed like every time Dwayne Wade drove to the lane and fell, there was a whistle being called. But does Ant Edwards have that swagger that D-Wade carried when he was so young and, you know, put the team on his back during that finals run? I think he does, but SGA could hoop too. Like, he really showed me something Sunday night or Sunday afternoon when it's 30-something points and just letting them know, like, yo, I'm the MVP of the league for a reason this season. I'm more than just a regular season player. When it comes to the playoffs, I can step my game up when my team needs me to do, and he performed. So which superstar is going to show their dominance in this series? This could be a classic one. Like, this could be a real classic one. That's going to be really exciting. Everybody stay tuned.
Well, I'm rolling with Ant Edwards to be the superstar of this series. He's got to outplay Gilgeous-Alexander to me.
Okay.
Because he's the swag for the T-Wolves. And when he's on fire, the rest of that team tends to follow. Now, sometimes they haven't needed him to be great. But, I mean, the Thunder, they got a lot of pieces. They got a lot of confidence. They got bigs. They got, you know, Caruso, who can do a little bit of everything. They got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You know, on paper, OKC is the favorite, but I'm counting on Ant Edwards to impose his will in this series.
Yeah, it seemed like earlier in the playoffs, he kind of struggled with his outside shot, which during the regular season, he was money. And, you know, that's very common. Just like in baseball, your hitting is going to go down because you're playing better pitching once the postseason goes around. Your offensive game is going to take a hit. You don't want it to take a huge hit, because if that happens, you end up like Jalen Green with the Rockets and you're a 2 seed, and now you're out here watching like the rest of us. But you got to find other ways to impact the game. And he did a really good job with that during the Warriors series on not settling, even when his shot was off, getting to the rack, creating for his teammates. And Julius Randle, when he was cooking like he was, it allowed Anthony Edwards to be freed up a little bit more, because you got to worry about Randle going off on you and scoring 25 plus points during that series. So Randle's been a huge help to Anthony Edwards' success, to where he doesn't have to be the man all the time. I think Karl Anthony Towns, when they had him, he kind of struggled with that role on when do I pick my battles of being aggressive because I know this is Anthony Edwards' team. Julius Randle don't care. He's just like, yo, I'm going to go get mine, and hopefully that can free up everybody else. Like, you need that type of mentality. I think Julius Randle could kill Chet Holmgren. If he has that same mentality that we saw against Draymond, where Draymond came out on his podcast, like, say what you want about Draymond, but he was man enough to say, yo, I lost this matchup against Julius Randle. Like, I don't lose many matchups very often. I'm one of the best defensive players of all time at my position. Julius Randle wore me out all series long. If you could wear out Draymond Green, you could wear out Chet Holmgren, if you ask me.
Don't you think Jaden McDaniels is going to be on SGA?
Yes. Yes.
And that's a tough matchup for SGA.
It is.
Because McDaniels 6'9", long.
Yeah, very tough matchup. And then Rudy Gobert, you got to be able to muck stuff up, man. Like
Rudy Gobert's and Nas Reed.
Problem. He could be
He plays bigger than 6'9".
Yeah. Yeah, I like the Timberwolves too, man. I do. Like, I think this is Anthony Edwards' time. It's wide open, though. Like, I could see any four of these teams that are left hoisting that national or NBA trophy up.
I got T-Wolves Pacers.
I got T-Wolves Knicks. I got to be a little different.
Well, I love Jalen Brunson. I'm just cheering for Miles Turner.
What about PJ Tucker?
Yeah.
Even though he ain't playing.
Well, TJ's got a ring.
He does.
You know, Miles Turner, he gets no love. I want him to shine on this stage. I want him to emerge like Aaron Gordon emerged in the Nuggets run to the championship, you know. So I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And Edwards, you took your victory lap around, you know, the Celtics arena. Now it's time, or not the Celtics, sorry, around the Lakers arena. Now, bring it.
That's right.
Because it's not sexy to beat OKC. It's not sexy to beat the Pacers. Now, it would be sexy to beat the Knicks. But all right, I see they got guests lining up left and right here in the open gym. So let's bring them all in early. Actually, I'll probably have to get off to make room. But Patrick, Matt, they got Will Matthews, my man, Headache, waiting in the wings.
Ready to
Let's
go.
Get out of here.
Let's get out of
here.
We'll see you all tomorrow.
Appreciate you guys.
I want to hear Will Matthews.
We all do. Appreciate everybody joining us here on Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. My name is Patrick Davis. Alongside me, as always, Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI. So glad to have our guest coming in, kicking off the show with us. If you got some questions, you can throw them in the chat, but we won't waste any time getting to the man that is roaming the sidelines now for the Longhorns. We know he was on the field paving the way for the Horns for several years. A fellow Westwood Warrior like myself. Will, appreciate you coming on the show. Will Matthews joining us.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me. What's up, Matt? What's up, Patrick? Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on the show today. Get you in as you know, it's the off season, but we're getting ready for some football. I know you've been actually out though, having a good time. You were hanging out with Mac Brown. How's Mac Brown been since moving back to Austin and coming back and getting back in the fold?
You know, it's been so good to see Coach. This place is always a little bit brighter when he's around, I feel.
Yeah.
He just really brings a whole nother level of, I mean, he's kind of moving into that like grandpa coach now. It's like, he's just a good guy, him and Miss Sally, and excited for them to be back. And really what started to happen is a lot of the older guys from my era before and a little bit after when coach was around, it's really galvanized us to come back and be closer to the program. as well as be together with each other again. Coach is fun and funny, and I'm happy to have him back.
Yeah, that's awesome to see, because I know it was kind of weird for a little bit there with Mac, but we all still, everybody who remembers that time is always like, Mac, one day there's going to be that statue for him out there, and I can't wait for that day, and I'm glad he's back around the program. But you get to be around the program now. You were around the program then. What would you say if you're comparing Sark's era and Mac's era and the two coaches, kind of what the similarities are between them? What do you see in Sark that you can look at and go, man, I remember how that was with Mac too?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Sark, in his way, does a lot of the similarities of the CEO. In fact, he'll pull the team together, he'll create a culture around them, and then he'll protect that culture. That's really what Mac did. And I think the biggest difference between that era and now really has more to do with the money. I mean, NIL, that aspect, the transfer portal, and just the new era that college football is walking into. But outside of that, those two guys, they do one thing really well. They create culture around their players, and they create a space for a player to get in there and, be 17, 18 and have a good time, of course, but still produce on the field and do what we need them to do and win those games too. So winners.
Yeah, Will, I mean, you talk about the culture that he's developing there and how, that's similar to Mac. But one of the things that I've been curious about from a little bit more of an outside perspective, and maybe you can give us some insight here, is, when there's a giant distraction going on, that can sometimes create a negative effect on culture. And what I'm speaking about here, obviously, is the Arch Manning hype that's surrounding the entire program, and it's everywhere, no matter where you look. How are they dealing with that distraction, or is it even a distraction in that locker room, or is everybody just embracing?
Yeah, I mean, Sark does a really good job of doing two things, of being super, super honest with the guys, and then being able to put everything into perspective. So if you're seeing the guys on the field and in the locker room, I mean, they play and they connect just like friends. Great relationship. If you pull those guys away and you ask them, who's this guy? They would definitely know how big Arch Manning is, what he brings to the table, what he brings to college football as a whole. But based on the culture and what they've done and that next man up kind of thing, it's a respect for Arch and a reverence for what can happen over these next couple of years with him. But they're all just buds. The guys do a really good job of staying level. I mean, even with the younger guys all the way to the older guys, I think it really mirrors what Sark is. You'll see Sark won't get too excited. He won't get too low. He's really just right in the middle. And you can see the team really becoming that. When things go well, they're excited, but they're not too excited. And when things don't go in the way that they would plan, yeah, they're able to shake it off and then move on. I'm excited to see that continue to play out in year 5.
Yeah, we saw a lot of, struggle and having to use new attempts in the running back room last year after the injuries. And it felt like, you went down with CJ Baxter and then, everybody just kept going down. And then throughout the season, if anyone even, looks tired, you got a little worried, all last season. Going into this season, you've reloaded that running back room. It looks great now. How does the feeling on the 40 acres about that running back room? And as someone who is a running back from the University of Texas, what do you feel about that running back room right now?
At the moment, it's an embarrassment of riches. I mean, what would Coach Sark say? Crying from a yacht.
Yes, I love it.
They have, I mean, any back you can think of. Christian Clark came back on to the field here in spring practice and started to gain ground back. CJ Baxter, we're looking at, he's gonna start to see his presence more on the field coming this season. We're really excited about that and what that could look like. But even with that, you got a 1,000-yard back coming back. And to get to know Contravion Wisner, I mean, the leadership that he's bringing, it is definitely focus group a group of guys who are really putting in the work. And with his leadership and with CJ Baxter coming back there, I really think that's going to be a bright spot of the team. And, a little snake bitten last year, that what happened to CJ and the rest of the guys there was just really, really hard. And in fact, if we looked at the season, I think with having CJ on the field, we might have picked up one or two more wins, and that could have been the difference between SEC championship and, playing Notre Dame in the national championship. So if we can add that little bit of flavor back to the team to where we've got a really consistent ground game, as well as an outside ground game and inside ground game, I think with this new group of O-line, it's going to be special.
Yeah, and going off of that, obviously Tashard Choice was a really big loss for this team. He was such an important part of what they do, not just on the on the field, but on the recruiting trail as well.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen with Chad Scott so far in his replacement and what he's brought to the program, and sort of comparing and contrasting his style with Coach Choice?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Choice, he's an overwhelming personality. I mean, if you were to watch him coach on the sideline, there's not a dull moment. He has so much energy. He is in the guy's face, and in a way that is inspiring them as well as challenging them. He is really, really close to his players. I mean, every player that played for Coach Choice talked about him as the reason that they got to where they are, from Bijan to Roshan to Trey Wisner right now. And that's gonna be hard to replace. But I think what they have done so well is continually bring in the right player. They brought in the right player, and let's just be honest. As a running back, I'm an ex-running back, so I can say this: if a guy can't run the ball, he shouldn't be at Texas. What players come to Texas to learn is how to pass block and run routes better, so that they can take that to the NFL. It's not about teaching a guy how to run a gap scheme and do that. If you can't do that now, why are you here? Mm-hmm. What these guys are learning is how to pick up the A gap. I mean, how when that cornerback blitzes late and I'm checking out at the defensive end, can I see him, chip him on the way, take the ball, and be able to make a big play? And I think that's what they're building. We'll see how that develops this season.
Yeah, that is always the fun. And it's all that blocking is very, very important, not only to the game of football, but to what Sark's going to do to put you into the game.
Yeah.
He does not like to play around with people who aren't blocking. That's why we see the new tight ends. That's why we see different players getting in. Speaking of blocking, though, new offensive line as well coming in for this Texas team. How long do you think it takes an offensive line to gel like this, to put in when you got 4 new guys coming on? So basically all 5 guys haven't played together as a starting lineup. How much time do you take that to gel? I mean, you play Ohio State week 1, but are you going to be able to gel by SEC where you feel really confident with that lineup? Or, can you get it done in camp? How long does that take?
And that's such a tough one. The offensive line as a whole, and you take 5 guys from any era, when they come together, it really takes a little while for them to gel, because it's a hive mind. We've all got to do a similar thing, but not the same thing, together in the right time, in the right manner, for the right play. And that can take a little while. Like, individually, people can play really well, but coming together can take some time. But what we are seeing is teams like Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Alabama, Georgia, they're losing everybody too. Every year, the best guys are going to the NFL, and they're moving on. And that really opens the door for younger guys to be developed well. And right now, we're going to be looking across from a group of people who will be brand new on the Ohio State side as well. I mean, new quarterbacks. I mean, they were hit really hard with the draft, which is a great thing for them. But that means that it's going to be raw against raw. So as we're looking at that, is it going to be a playground fight between them and Ohio State? But I do know by SEC, we've got 3-4 home games right there, right after that Ohio State game, moving into before we get to Dallas, moving into the rest part and the bigger part of the SEC season. If the guys don't gel by then, it's going to be pretty difficult. But I know, based on Flood and what he's been able to do with these guys previous years, they're gelling. They're gelling. They love each other. They like each other. They're snotty. They're nasty guys up there. And I can't wait to see them meet this fall.
Yeah, and speaking about that offensive line as well, I mean, there's obviously going to be some new starters in there, like we just talked about. But is there anybody that's sort of catching your eye that you think could be a dark horse on that offensive line? I mean, there's going to be a new left guard, new right tackle, somewhere that at center we expect Cole Hudson, but we're not sure if that's exactly what the best five is going to be. So who's kind of sticking out to you as an up and comer?
Well, I mean, Cole Hudson, you can't mistake and you can't trade out experience. Experience is such a special. But young Buck Brooks, outside of the little snafu late night after a couple of weeks ago, I'm hearing great things every practice from guys that I played with, from coaches and people saying that this guy is really doing his thing. He's a special talent, and he's going to be able to, no matter where and how much he plays, he's going to push that group ahead of him to get better. And I think he's going to push his way onto the field. And, we'll see experience meet young and exciting and just hungry guys. And that's a testament to Coach Flood and Coach Sark. They're just really bringing in the right people at the right time. Not using the portal, really growing guys, bringing them from high school, growing them really well, getting them into the system and letting that culture build them up and change them and get ready to play on the field.
We got Will Matthews joining us right now on Open Gym, the Longhorn legendary running back, fullback, and of course the sideline reporter for the Longhorns now. Will, we've talked about, I had Casey Studdard on the show a few weeks back.
Big
and he was
Stud!
talking about Big Stud. He was talking about he wants that offensive line to get a little bit nastier this year too, pushing guys forward, helping out that run game even more. It's like they're great at pass pro, but I need to see some dogs. I need to go out there and get some boys. Who do you see on this roster? Doesn't even have to be offensive line, but are those dogs that are, it doesn't matter, they're going to get dirty, and you better get out of their way?
Well, it's really early with the tight ends. They were nasty in spring ball. If you don't have a nasty tight end, it's really hard to secure the end. Trey Wisner, I mean, he has grown in size and in stature and in focus and in leadership. I'm excited to see him really do it. But if we're really asking about who's gonna be nasty, it's that guy. It's that Manning guy. If that guy's nasty, the D line will be nasty, the O line will be nasty, wide receivers will be nasty, cornerbacks will be nasty. When he was doing his thing over there, watching that guy tiptoe on the sideline at A&M as he scores that touchdown, I mean, it's going to start with him. I remember being in the huddle with Vince Young, and Vince would come up, and I think we might have been down Oklahoma State. I think it was like 35-17, something crazy, which we come back to beat them. We walk out at halftime, and he's standing and he's dancing. And the whole O-line, Casey Studdard, Lawson line, all of the guys we're all dancing together. And he's like, y'all ready? And we go out there and we do our thing. And it was just something special. We all knew that if we gave our best and our all, that we were good enough and we could do our thing. And that at the end of the day, give the ball to BY. He's going to take it to the house.
Yeah. I remember watching that game at halftime, and I was talking to my dad, and I was like, man, this is over. Like, what are we going to do? And she's like, no, we got Vince. And in the second half, there he goes. His classic comeback win, probably one of the best wins of his career. And Vince was such a unique leader with that team. Mm-hmm. The way he carried himself and the way that he not only did it in the locker room, keeping guys light, but by example on the field. Quinn was a very different kind of leader. He did lead by example, but he was a more quiet guy. How does Arch's leadership style compare to a Quinn Ewers or a Vince Young or some of these other great quarterbacks that have come through Texas?
Yeah, I mean, each guy to his own. And I think we're going to look back at Quinn and, number of years back and really be like, thank you for what you meant and what you did for the Longhorns coming out of the drought into whatever we aspire to become. Quinn really was more reserved. He spent a lot of time investing in his teammates one-to-one. I really admired the way that he led. I think sometimes he took on a bit too much of the pressure of the whole team. But that's what a good leader does. They take it on their back. Vince was totally more playful in the sense behind the scenes. You would see him and he'll tell you, yeah, he had the world on his shoulder, but he found a way to really find a jovial expression inside of that space, especially for us. And it made us like, if me and Casey right now stuttered and all of the guys come back together, like it is immediately fun. Like we're just fun. And the difference with Arch at the moment has a lot to do with his vocalization to the team. Not only does the team know that he has their back and they want to play for him, but they hear it. Throughout the practice field, when you're out there, you hear him getting on guys, you hear him getting excited, you hear him living what's inside of here out here. And that's really important for the team because everybody drafts off that guy, defense and offense. It doesn't matter who you are. When your QB is doing this thing, you're going to play for him.
Yeah, and speaking about what he's going to mean, we also have that really young wide receiver group coming in this year where normally you've either had a couple guys coming back or transfers or whoever else that was a little bit older. This is a really young group this year, and we know Sark always kind of has to trust his guys. So he'll involve them, but, he's only going to throw the ball. How many guys do you think Arch is actually going to get involved really in this offense this season? Or is it going to be 2 guys and a lot of running backs?
That's a really, really great and astute question for this. I mean, it can be him and Wingo, They have a really great relationship. And in fact, last season, he was able to find Wingo quite often, especially on the second team reps. And when Wingo was playing up, who might have played more than any freshman that has ever played in Texas, reps wise, that guy is ready. He's wide receiver 1, and he's long, he's rangy, he's fast. He can make the over the middle catch as well as the head top jump over you, grab that thing. And then you got Parker Livingstone, who's been kind of sitting in the wings and waiting. And a lot of times this spring, he got a lot of accolades from the coaching staff all the way down. And then DeAndre Moore, tons of experience there. They brought in the guy Holt from Stanford, who I think he had over 40 catches in a couple of games that he played. So who knows how good he'll be. And then you got the young bucks who are flying around and doing their thing. And so who knows how quickly they'll get those trusted reps to get into the game. But here's the deal. Ohio State is not in the SEC. And no matter what happens in that game, there will not be more relevant reps to get these young bucks. There won't be any better relevant reps until we get to OU, and who knows how they're going to be. They've got a reasonable quarterback, but everything else out there could be a mess. And I'm happy for OU to be very messy. I don't mind at all. But the deal is I think based on Sark's culture as well as his route tree, the right guys, like he says, the ball's gonna find them. Those young guys are gonna learn really quickly. They're the top talent in the country, and so 1 to 2 of those guys playing pretty early makes a lot of sense. And we'll see who gets in the circle of trust, and all that that has less to do with what you can do with the ball after you catch it, but what you do to get to the ball. So we'll see what Sark does come in the fall.
And on those young receivers too, I was curious. I mean, they brought in Jamie French, they brought in Khalil Lockett, Michael Terry, Dalen McCutcheon. All of them seem to have kind of different skill sets. Dalen McCutcheon is the one that I am the most interested in, though, just because of who he's playing behind. And he was the least heralded of the four to come in. He was a 4-star recruit. The other guys are all 5 stars, but he seems to be making some strides. What is his game like, and how has he progressed through the spring to kind of get himself in a position to be involved in the offense next year?
Yeah, so early on, guys who play, especially young guys who play, what they do very early is they have some sort of grasp of the offense. I think coming in from high school, he had a pretty good grasp on this college style, on Sark Styles offense, which gave him a bit of a leg on the other guys. It's not about ability in relation to the other guys. It's just about trust. He came in ready. He came in with his skill set closest to the players who are ready to play. I'm not saying better. All I'm saying is ready and trusted. In the film room, all those guys are in the film room. All those guys are there early. All those guys are ready to make a lot of mistakes so that they can get to the gold and get it going. But he was able to just really push it a little bit farther. And having a spring ball and being able to come out and practice against the Manny Muhammad and those guys over there on that side, I think helped. And we're going to need to see. So the spring, what it does for players, especially young players, is it gives them the right to compete in the fall for a position. Rarely does a guy take somebody's job unless they inherit or they out completely just dominate the person in front of them. All that has done is given him the ability, in a way, to compete, to get on the field in the fall. So we'll see. Does he move in front? Does he move in front and steal a couple more reps from some of the older guys? I don't know, but Sark has done a really good job of giving those guys enough leadway so that they can make enough mistakes so that they can be ready to play.
We got Will Matthews joining us here on Open Gym. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really appreciate you joining us today, Will. But if we could get the one thing that if you were able to walk in the coach's room and talk to Sark and say, this is what I want to see this team do this year. This is the thing the one little piece that's been missing to get us over that edge, get us in that national championship game, and we can all relive those glory days. Yeah. What's that one piece of advice you give there?
Deep ball in the blitz.
That's it.
Yeah. If based on the people that we have and based on our quarterback and wide receiver, lineman, running back, if we can hit the deep ball 3 times in a game, that will put so much pressure on the defense, because now what they'll have to do is they'll have to defend the deep ball, which we had sparingly. They will have to defend the run with the running backs, and they'll have to defend the run with Arch. That's going to be too much. And on the defensive side, if we can let guys like Colin Simmons do their thing, Trey Moore, I think Trey Moore last year spent a lot of time just kind of learning the defense until about midseason when he got the reps. But I can't wait to see that guy. Let him go. Do your thing. Colin Simmons, do your thing. Anthony Hill, do your thing, and allow everybody else to play space and make sure that whatever they do, if they're not creating havoc, that the play is a dud. Those 2 things right there, if we throw the deep ball and we blitz well, those are the 2 I don't see any way that we can be beat.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be very few better ways to practice picking up a linebacker than practicing against Anthony Hill. If you're a running back and you say, well, he's going to have Colin Simmons, I got to catch Anthony Hill coming through. I don't know if I'd want to do that every day in practice, but you be ready for anybody then.
Yeah, I was with Derek Johnson. Like, we were playing golf with Coach Brown a couple of days ago, and I was like, DJ, you're like 200 pounds. Look at you, little baby. And I was with Anthony Hill at the end of spring practice, and I was like, man, I would have loved to go against you, but this guy's a beast. So yeah, we got some beasts out there. And
Oh,
hopefully we're talking about Anthony Hill in the way that we're talking about Derek Johnson, because
I do.
Leading tackler for the Chiefs and the best linebacker that I've played against. So let's go, Ant Hill.
Love it. Appreciate your time today, Will Matthews. Really enjoy. They can find you on Twitter at Will Matthews. Now, what else you got going on? Do you want to let the people know about, Will?
Yeah. So somehow, since football, I got into finance, and I'm a banker, a commercial banker. So with Truist Bank, so I'm doing that. I'll be around in the Longhorn community, as well as hit me up on my socials, Will Matthews NOW. On LinkedIn and Instagram and X and all of that stuff. You can see what I'm doing this fall. It's going to be insane with what's going on. Can't wait to share all this stuff with you. So much love, everybody.
I appreciate you so
Appreciate
much,
it,
Will.
Will.
Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank y'all. Thanks for having me.
Oh, so great there to have the great Longhorn Will Matthews join us. Does the sideline reporting too. I got to work with him a few times doing games with the great Craig Way as well, doing those games. So always fun to work with Will. And then we actually did go to high school together. He's a couple years ahead of me, but I saw him play in high school because we went to the same high school. So I saw Will Matthews, but very cool for him to join the show today. Give us a little preview there of the Texas Longhorns as we get into it over the offseason. Always enjoy talking. Very good guy.
Yeah. I love getting insight from former players. It always paints a little bit more of a legitimate picture of what you're looking at, because they know the game, they've played it, they've been there. So when you get that kind of insight about guys' mentalities and the different schemes, the schemes, and what it's like to go up against a guy like a Derek Johnson or whatever the case may be, it's always a lot of fun. So really appreciate that from him for sure.
Anytime you get a Vince Young story in the locker room, it's always
oh yeah.
Always gotta love that. We got a lot coming up on the show. Appreciate everybody hanging with us today on Open Gym. We're here till 6 p.m. just like we are Monday through Friday. We still got to get into some of the news popping around. Saw some of you guys already bringing up some of it there on the chat. We got some different stories. I'm sure I'm going to try and get Matt riled up at some point here in the show today. I saw an article this morning and thought, yeah, this one annoys me, but I know it's going to annoy Matt more. So we'll get to that one in hour 2 of the show. Also, Cowboys OTAs just began this week. So getting some reports out of that one, as well as we keep rolling along, and the NBA playoffs continuing tonight as we go. But I did want to talk about this, Matt, because it's apparently becoming much closer. And these are things that are starting to happen. And the ball's in motion, and especially the Power 4 schools are really pushing for this now. They seem to have a united front for the College Sports Commission. And, we talked yesterday about NIL and talked about needing the definitive voice and somewhat of a commissioner to be there. And it's not a commissioner, but they're talking about making a CEO of the College Sports Commission, basically finding a new ruling organization other than the NCAA to try and handle some of these things the NCAA just can't handle. The fact that the NCAA has had such a long record of what they're able to, what they've done wrong in the past, and things that legally were kind of borderline, that they're not going to win any cases in court. So they're going to try and start something new with a different legal precedent, basically. And that's a College Sports Commission, and appoint a CEO. Now, there also is reports that the CEO, a lot of the people that are coaches are all saying Nick Saban, but the people ruling it seem to be on the board, seem to be on a theory that they're going to take someone away from the college football world and possibly the entire college sports world and try and bring in someone that's a little bit more centralized, to not just be, I'm taking one side of this so much. So they want to bring in a different voice to be the basic CEO, which would be the commissioner, but someone who could put these rulings down. They would still have to answer to a board and other pieces that they would have to answer to. So they're not just a all-knowing, all-being superpower. But it's an interesting pull that this is something that could be done here. And apparently they're trying to push this through. There's a House ruling that once that comes down, they're going to try and push this through as well and get this going so they can have a little bit more rules of what's happening, try and level the playing field however they want to level it. But Matt, what's your thoughts about the CEO of the College Sports Commission?
I love this idea because I think that there needs to be some sort of, way to kind of wrangle all this stuff in and have a defining voice of, the rules and the regulations and the things you can do, the things you can't do, pushing through agendas, pushing through different rule changes, whatever the case may be that they need to do. Obviously, my big thing with that is NIL, but there's a ton of other things that they could do with it. Part of me is hoping that it's a guy like Nick Saban who's been around the game, who understands it, knows what the issues are, knows how to, has ideas on how to fix them already, knows how to improve the game. But the other side of me also kind of thinks that having somebody who is not biased and who's coming in with a fresh mind and a clean slate and who has experience with, in more of a business sense of running this thing would probably be a good idea. I mean, you want to have somebody who can be objective about this stuff, who's not going to get bogged down by nostalgia of the game or an old way of thinking or something like that. I don't know who that might be off the top of my head, but somebody who I do think it's somebody who has to know sports pretty well. Like I think one of the big issues with the college football playoff committee is sometimes they bring in people who don't really know anything about football, and then they make these decisions on who gets who gets in just by watching the games, and you don't really know if that's the best way to go. So it has to be somebody who knows sports, who knows college football. But at the end of the day, this can only be a good thing, in my opinion, because you got to find a way to improve this game in multiple ways. And if they can find a way to have a governing body that is not something that's corrupt like the NCAA, then it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where I think maybe you want to go with someone too that has a legal background in some sense, whether that be a lawyer or a judge or somebody like that can understand not to get you in the problems of making a ruling that is clearly violating antitrust laws or clearly violating some sort of jurisdiction that will eventually come back to bite you in the butt. I think that's something where you could look into somebody like that. But it is really interesting because, you don't also want to go one side too heavy. You don't want to go in and make it someone who has a history of administering at schools, because they're going to always take the school side over the players, over the coaches. You don't want an ex-coach necessarily, because they're always going to take the coach's side, and they're going to see things as a coach. And even when you try and be impartial, you're going to still see it first as that thing. And that's kind of where players fall in as well, is if you take it as a player, are you going to have someone in there that is going to advocate for the players, that is going to really be a voice for them when, there's a ton of them, but if one of them speaks out, all of a sudden they're a problem. So can you also be a voice for the players? It's going to be really hard to find somebody who can fit, at least some of those narratives and be able to put it together. I love the idea of it because I think it needs to be done, but it is always that, guys, this is a great idea. There probably should be more than one person. There should probably be a few people that are in charge. I know they're going to answer to a board, and you also don't want it to take forever, but we've also seen Roger Goodell is an example that Roger Goodell hands down whatever suspension, and it's his call to do it. But at the end of the day, you go, it's great you get him out in quickness and all this, but sometimes we don't understand what the ruling is, and it's hard to know what the rules are. So I think looking at Roger Goodell, you have to look at that and come off the other side of it and say, we don't want to come off as this guy has all the power. And so I'm not quite sure how you do it. I'd probably like there to be a little bit more checks and balances than there will be at first. I think you'll eventually get there, but it's an interesting pull, and I just don't like it is. I don't know what you pull off to get that job where you know enough about sports and college football and how the college, the economics of college football and maybe the TV deals. You got to know stuff about that, but also not be biased. It seems like a hard fight.
Yeah, and one of the things that worries me about it being a singular person, no matter if they're impartial or no matter if they're leaning one side or the other. If they make a ruling that one particular part of this, this combination doesn't like if it's a ruling that affects the players in a negative way, or if it's a ruling that affects the coaches in a negative way, eventually it's going to develop into something like the NFL, where then all of a sudden you're going to have players organizing into a union and like the NFLPA. And then you got, you're going to have a coaches union, and they're going to be fighting this back and forth or one way or the other. So I think that that's one of the dangers of it. And obviously they'll have their rights, and they should do that if the situation calls for it. But I think you're right, though. I think the best course of action here is probably to make it a committee more than a singular person, so they can have discussions and check each other and those kinds of things. Because if you just have one person making all the decisions, I mean, I understand they have to answer to a board, but you're going to be wasting everybody's time if this guy's like, this is what I want to do, and then he takes it to the board and they're like, no, that's stupid. Like you got to have somebody who he can discuss this with and have, constructive meetings and have different ideas pitched in these meetings to where it can all end up being okay. But at the end of the day, it has to happen in some way, shape, or form, because the way things are right now, it's just not working.
Yeah, and I mean, and this is also the thing of, I know one of the issues they're having too is, you have to have basically all the schools completely sign off on this. Every school has to be 100% on board and believe in it, because when you try and pass these things, if one school responds off on it, so if you say, hey, all those kids in basketball who are saying they want another year of eligibility, they want the 5 years, the 5 years of playing time, no matter if, that the COVID year, they basically want that now too. They want to be able to have the extra year of eligibility because you can get one if you redshirt or whatever else. They want that extra year. And if you say that, we're not doing that, that is not a thing. You then have to go to every school and say, you can't recruit these guys. You can't put them on the roster. I don't care if they pass a law. We are not allowing this. It's not happening. So we are not, and you have to have everybody agree to that, which there's always going to be some coach that says, screw that. There's 6 guys I want out of that. So go, I don't care. And, that's where it is. There's also some loopholes or some issues there are right now where Tennessee has NIL laws that it basically violates their Tennessee laws as of right now for Tennessee to join on this. So all the Power 4 schools are supposed to be signing on to this, but Tennessee technically can't yet because it would be illegal for state laws to do it. So they have to figure out those kind of things as well, because we know that there was the wars early on when every college just basically said, we can get a huge leg up if we get the politicians here to just let us do whatever we want and change the laws. That's why Quinn Ewers was in Ohio. Yeah. Why he went to Ohio State is because they changed that law first to try and help Ohio State University. And it worked. They got Quinn Ewers. Now, he left when Texas changed it and he could come back down, but that's why he went up there, because they changed the law to let people younger get it. And Texas finally answered. Texas answered because they were starting to lose high school student kids that were going to go off and go to other states where they could get NIL. And so they said, we'll change the laws up. So there's a lot of pieces that come into it. You have to have something come down. We all know that it's unsustainable the way it is right now. We just saw Kirk Bowles double down on his $35 to $40 million roster today. He put out another article stating that he still says it's a $35 to $40 million roster for Texas this year. Now, he also says in the article it's a 1-year thing and it won't be that next year. That basically they're doing this as like a last hurrah, and then they're going to get rid of the Texas One Fund at some point, and it'll come down to revenue sharing or profit sharing, whatever it's called that they're doing. So that's what Kirk said today. Whether that is true or not, it's been disputed by other people if it's going to be that high this year. But you have to have some sort of rules in place. We know freshmen getting $2 million, quarterbacks asking for $8 million, people entering the transfer portal over and over again, people trying to get, these are commissioners that have to answer about medical red shirts and eligibility, and people trying to transfer 4 times in a row and all those questions. I still would say, give me 3 people. I don't even need a committee. Give me 3. Give me 3. So it's never a tie. It's 3 people. They can always vote. They're going to vote one way or the other. but you at least have dissenting opinions. You can say, this is what we talked about. And I think transparency is going to be key. They probably won't do it, but transparency is key in these types of things so that people don't feel, look, we just saw with the draft lottery. Everybody thinks everything's a conspiracy that doesn't go their way. So if the person comes out and you have one person and he says, Georgia, that player is not eligible, but Texas has a player. Well, Texas is bought and paid for the College Sports Commission if that happens, and it may or may not be true. There may be reasons why it happened, but that's just the way it is. And that's why I think 3 people at least makes it a little bit harder to feel all the collusion. It feels a little bit more the more people you have in there. But as of right now, the plan is to hire a College Sports Commission CEO. And I'm curious to see who they put into it. And the backlash of whoever they hire, no matter who, is going to be huge because a lot of people are going to be pissed off no matter what. That's how America works.
Yeah, there's no way to make sure that everybody's happy in this situation. It's just, and that's why this is such an interesting idea, because whatever rules whoever this person is or this group of people is who tries to implement these rules, there's going to be dissent from one university or one coach or one athletic director or whatever the case may be. So, there's going to be backlash in every which way, just like there was when NIL first, dropped, and it's going to take some time for people to get used to it. But in the long run, it's definitely a necessary thing, and hopefully they find the right person or the right people to do it. I also agree with you. I think it needs to be an odd number of people. You either have to have an odd number so that the votes are never equal, or you have to have sort of a structure in place where we have to have a unanimous decision, that everybody has to agree on whatever this rule or implementation might be. So either way, it's going to be interesting. I think it'll change college sports for the better. So hopefully it happens sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board for it, but yeah, they have to pass that, whatever the House bill is that they're trying to pass and all the legislation that they have to pass. They have to figure out what that is first. But the response by the Power 4 conferences right now is they seem to be pretty unified in what's happening now is not sustainable, and we have to have an answer to it. And so we have to figure it out and get something in place, because where it's at right now is okay. We can figure it out. But if it keeps growing, the rate that it is growing right now, we can't handle that, because, the players are making more and more money. And at a certain point, we become a pro league, and it is going to kill every other sport in these schools. And I think that's kind of where you have to draw the line with the college sports is we want everybody to make money. We want all these things, but we can't treat this as if college football is its own singular thing, not attached to the college, even though it makes the most money, because now all of these other sports are going to suffer and you're going to lose a major part of the college experience and the fun of being a college sports fan just to supplant college football. I think they want to end that and kind of bring it back a little bit so everyone can still make their money, everybody can still get paid, but we have a little bit more regulation into it to allow a sustainable path, instead of every freshman now is getting $1 million plus to come to the school. If you're a 5-star, you're $1 million player off the bat. And I don't think they want to get there. And they're getting really, really close to there right now. And so that's where the rules are kind of having to come in.
Yeah. Jackson Cantwell, we talked about yesterday, is a perfect example of that. He's $2 million before he steps foot on campus is what he's projected to get. So they need to find a way to reel all that in, because, eventually a 4-star guy and with all these like different recruiting services who label 5 stars and 4 stars, there's always variation in there. So there's going to be guys on the fringes who are like, well, I'm a 5-star with 24/7 sports, but even though I'm a 4-star over on On3, I still deserve the 5-star money because these people say I'm a 5-star, and over here it doesn't matter because they're wrong. So,
no, and you're going to get to where the star ratings, and they're trying to butter those guys up to bump them up a star, and then they'll go over, and the schools will just have to be like, well, we rank you as a 3, so I don't care what they rank you as. They don't work for us, so we're not giving you that money. So it just feels like it's all in that world of sustainability. They're trying to find it. I'm glad they are. I don't necessarily trust everybody who's trying to do it. So, yeah, I'm really curious to see who they bring in and how trustworthy of an organization this is, and not trying to get into a world where it is just, once again, guys, we made it back, and there's a bunch of people involved in these programs who are making bukus of cash to do nothing. And they're just there, and they've been there since 1965, so they're allowed to stay there. And they make them $2 million a year for some weird job, and then we're going to complain about the kid making, $50,000, $60,000 because they're ruining it, not the guy on top who's making way, way too much money because he's just been there forever. And he'll never retire, because why would you? If he's making $2 million a year to do nothing, why would you ever retire? Why don't we take a quick break now? We'll come back. I want to get into Joel Clatt released a top 10 quarterbacks list. I like Joel Clatt. He does a lot of good work. So I want to go into that and get our opinion and see who they may have left off that list, see who maybe ranked too low on that list, too high, because I did see a lot of people reacting to it today. That's how it works. You put it out in social media and everybody reacts. We'll get Matt riled up and we'll also talk some Cowboys and some NBA as we keep it rolling along. Anything else you guys want to talk about there? Text line's open. Chat line is open here on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube and X and all the good places. But we'll be right back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered, here weekdays 4 to 6 p.m.
At Sleep Cycle Center, we can treat your sleep apnea in various ways. My story starts 15 years ago with the loss of my father to undiagnosed untreated sleep apnea. And this is a very preventable disease, and treatment options are various. Millions of people across America have sleep apnea, and they fail to realize the early warning signs. Fatigue, daytime sleepiness, and snoring are the most common signs. We'll find the best solution using advanced technology, oral and epigenetic appliances, or CPAP. We offer weight loss, oral surgery, and laser treatments. Schedule your appointment today and get your sleep evaluation.
If you're looking to remodel a kitchen, renovate your bathroom, or maybe add some new life to your outdoor space, reach out to our friends at McCall Custom Homes. They are custom home builders and renovators here in Central Texas, and they've been doing it in Central Texas for more than 40 years. It's a father-son team with a ton of experience, and all of that experience is here in the Austin area. So they know what it takes to turn an Austin area home into something truly, truly special. Right now, our friends at McCall Custom Homes are offering free estimates to TSU listeners so they can come out to your place, hear your vision, they can tell you what they can do, and then you can go from there. Don't just take my word for it. Check out their website, McCallCustomHomesATX.com. Look at the gallery of jobs they've done over the last 4 decades. And then when you're ready, again, reach out to them and they will come to you. McCallCustomHomesATX.com, or you can call or text Mike McCall directly at 512-633-9580. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations.
And Camilla McKay, the new website manager.
Yes, it's true. The kid is officially on the payroll, but more importantly, hockey season is wrapping up in the playoffs and the baseball season is kicking off.
Don't worry, old man. I've already been to a couple games at school up in Boston.
Then I'm going to pretend I'm not jealous and get back to this friggin' commercial. So just want to remind everyone that big screen TVs are great, but they are not home theaters. I'm here to tell you, you should have a home theater. A projector and 120-inch screen costs about the same as a high-end 85-inch TV.
It is awful nice when I want to watch sitcoms and reality TV at the same time.
Ugh. So, whether you're reminiscing with childhood home videos or drowning out the kids' commotion with your surround sound home theater, Audiovisual has the tools and services you need to meet and exceed your viewing needs.
Hey, Dad, how soon is too soon to ask for a promotion?
Generate your first million, then we'll talk.
Shit, I got work to do.
That's right, so tell them what they need to do.
Give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit us online at avconsultations.com. And remember to hug your kids, laugh with strangers, and make love to whoever the hell you want.
Give us a call at 512-255-8678.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered, myself, Patrick Davis, alongside Matt Galatzan from Texas Longhorns on SI. Appreciate Will Matthews for coming on the show with us earlier. If you missed that, you can go check it out. Scroll back on whatever you're watching on, or we'll have it up on the podcast version as well. Shout out to Chan. He says, wow, Will is he was our fullback. Boy, he's lost some weight. It was 20 years ago, Chan, that he was our fullback. So he played a little bit in the NFL, but yes, has moved on as a banker now. So he is He is slimmed down a little bit so he can, maneuver on the sidelines a little bit easier when he's doing that sideline reporting for Texas. Appreciate him being on. And another shout out there on the text line of a name that they thought for the commissioner or the CEO of the College Sports Commission. I think he may be too busy to do it, but it's an interesting name to throw in there, is Mark Cuban. It's an interesting name to throw in to who could be the College Sports Commissioner, College Sports Commission CEO, because he is involved in sports. He does have a CEO background. He would not be my first choice, but it's an interesting name, and I imagine names like that will be thrown out quite a bit.
Keep Mark Cuban away from college football, please. That's all I ask.
Are you upset because he's still a partial owner of the Mavs?
No, I wish that he was still the majority owner of the Mavs, because Luka would have gotten traded if he was. I just, my Mavs fandom started waning before Nico Harrison even got to Dallas, in large part because of Mark Cuban and the way that he ran the franchise. So I have a little bit of a negative connotation towards this already. So I would just prefer that they pick somebody else who's not so opinionated and loud and outspoken and who I don't think really knows anything about college sports at all.
I don't think he does enough either. I would look again. I said
He's
I would
a
not
smart
pick him.
guy.
But yeah, it's an interesting name because I think there will be names like that thrown out a lot. This guy made a ton of money. He's run a franchise before. Could this be the guy? I wouldn't be surprised if they throw out George W. Bush as an option. That wouldn't surprise me as somebody that they would talk to about it, because they go, well, he's done all these things and he owned the Rangers. So it wouldn't surprise me if these names come up in the conversation. I don't think any of them will get it, but I think their names will come up if that becomes a reality and the search for the CEO begins. I think you'll see names like that start to pop up. Let's get into this conversation about Joel Klatt and his top 10 quarterbacks entering the 2025 season in college football. We've looked at a couple of these lists already. We've gone through them, and they kind of vary pretty heavily. You also get to see the people who rank certain conferences much higher than others. And we see how much playing time matters. As somebody, some people will not put an Arch Manning in because they haven't had the playing time of some others. Some will put them in. So we can go down this list. His number one is Cade Klubnik. No big surprise of Cade Klubnik. In 2024, he had 3,639 yards, 36 touchdowns with only 6 interceptions. He also had another 7 rushing touchdowns as well. Cade Klubnik had a really good season, led that Clemson team that was on the up, but felt like maybe they got to the playoffs a year earlier than people thought they would. They thought this would be their year. So he takes them there last year. Can't quite get over the hump because they were a little bit overmatched getting into playing Texas in the SEC and the Big Ten. But Cade Klubnik, Austin kid, hell of a quarterback. No shock him being the ranked number one.
Yeah, I'm real bullish on Cade Klubnik. I've been a big fan of his since he was at Westlake. I think he's a tremendous quarterback. I think he's just going to get even better this year. I'm not trying to put pressure on him because I don't think he needs to have any more pressure on him than he already does, being the starting quarterback of a national title contender. But he has a chance to be a Drew Brees type player with legs. He's that accurate with the football. He's that smart. He's that type of character guy. So I don't think there's a question. I think he's the best quarterback in the country, and I expect him to have a huge year.
Then we go look at number 2, and guess who it is? It's Arch Manning. He jumps in. Only played a couple games last year. They have his stats up of 939 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 68% completion percentage. He also had 100 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns to throw in last year as well. Didn't play a ton. He was in the backup role, but he is going to take over this year. We just heard Will Matthews talking about him, and he was talking about not only what he could do on the field, but he was talking about his leadership and bringing the dog into everybody else, because he is that competitive and he is that guy. He gave him a little comparison to Vince Young, not really, but a little bit of one, which you always like to hear at Texas. But if you talk about a guy that it's not only what we think he can do on the field throwing the football, but you add in this factor that now everyone's like, wait, he's actually like one of the cooler Mannings. This guy might actually be able to get the team to rally around him and really be a different kind of impact as a leader as well. I get why you put him on this list too. He's got one of the most talented teams around him. He's got everything going for him and a great play calling coach. It feels short-sighted to not say, I think he's going to have a great year and be a really good quarterback.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about Arch here in a minute, I think. So I'm not going to go too deep on this one, but I agree. One thing that I will say about Arch that I will not talk about in a minute is what separates him, I think, from Quinn, and this is not a knock at Quinn at any sense of the word. I am probably the biggest fan of Quinn on this entire network, as a matter of fact, so I don't want to come off as I'm not. But Arch has aura about him.
Yeah.
He has a way of galvanizing players, not just in the way that he plays on the field, but the way that he speaks, the way that he acts, his energy, his, for lack of a better term, because I'm probably too old to use this word, swag. Like, he's got all of those things. And I think that's what kind of separates him from a lot of players on this list, is that he has that aura about it. I mean, you saw after the touchdown against Texas A&M, the Texas media team did a fantastic job of getting this video of him walking off the floor and high-fiving people and doing the, sheathing his gun, like whatever, all the stuff, like, the different handshakes that he had with all these different players already. And this is just a redshirt freshman. He's already got the whole team rallying around him and all those things. So you combine that with his skill set and his, with his arm and his legs and having the best play caller in college football and the most talented roster in America around him. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. And I don't know how anybody could have anything negative to say about Arch at this point, really. So
we'll get to the negative in just a minute. Number 3, John Mateer from Oklahoma. At Washington State last year, he had 3,139 yards, 29 touchdowns with 7 interceptions, threw the ball about 65% completion percentage. He also had 826 yards on the ground with 15 rushing touchdowns. Dual threat quarterback at Washington State, going to play a lot tougher competition. You figure that running game is probably going to get pared back a little bit. You're still going to use it. We didn't even talk about that with Arch. Arch also has a running game that will get pared back a little bit more, as you can't just let people run, all over the place in the SEC, or that quarterback will not play a full season. It's just, it's really tough when you have a lot of big guys that are coming really fast and trying to take your head off. So John Mateer, we talked last week a little bit about John Mateer as well. The thought is, I really think part of this hype is Cam Ward. That Cam Ward came out of Washington State and John Mateer was his backup, and Cam Ward then puts together a, huge performance, becomes the number 1 overall draft pick in this year's draft. I think there's some thought, okay, if you come out of that program, maybe you can excel to the next level. He's going to have to do that in Oklahoma for them to have much of a shot. But John Mateer, a lot of people very, very high on John Mateer.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty high on this list for me. I mean, just talking to Ryan Chapman last week, or when we were talking Oklahoma, it sounds like he's very heavily reliant on the medium, short to medium throws and tight ends and things like that, which is very different from Cam Ward. He's not. I know he's a fantastic runner, and that's something that he could add to his game. And he does have some advantages. He's coming to Oklahoma with his former offensive coordinator, so he'll already know the system, and he'll be very comfortable with everything they're trying to do. But this is one of those that I'm going to have to see it to believe it, because I've seen people project him as a top 10 NFL draft pick, and I don't know, man. It seems really high. I do think he's a top 10 quarterback. He was number 7 on my list, but putting him ahead of guys like Lenoris Sellers and Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller and DJ Lagway and Carson Beck and Sam Lee. I mean, that's a lot of names that you're leaving out for a guy that hasn't really proven much to me.
No, I'm with you on that. Number 4, he has Sam Leavitt, the Arizona State quarterback, 2,885 yards through the air, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last season, throwing about 62% completion percentage, 443 rushing yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns as well. He was a breakout star at Arizona State last year. The big question for him is how much of that was Cam Scatterbo? How much of that came through having a super dynamic running back who could kind of do everything? That was such a matchup nightmare for so many teams, especially in the Big 12. But we saw it was a matchup nightmare for Texas because even in the Texas game, he didn't do a ton, but he had big plays, and big plays changed the game. And that's how Arizona State was in it, was 3 or 4 big plays. And now if you take out that big play machine, how many touchdowns is that? How many different places how many plays go away because that big play machine and every defense having to be very conscious of the big play machine? How does that go away? You still have a really good wide receiver. You still got some pieces around you. But 4 may be a little high. I get it. I'd probably maybe have him at 4 if we don't put Mateer there, but I could see him dropping down a spot or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a very talented guy. I think that, towards the end of the season, he kind of let his mouth get the better of him going into the college football playoffs. So I have a little bit of a shadow on him because of that. But there's no denying he was a very talented quarterback, and he didn't have his top receiver in the Texas game. So that's, he wasn't playing with a full deck. So you can't really knock him for that. That offense was just so heavily reliant on Cam Scatterbo that's the thing that kind of gives me pause about ranking him this high is what does he look like without that running game? Because when you have a guy like Cam Scatterbo in the backfield, defenses are terrified of that. So they're playing up more. They're playing the run a hell of a lot more. So when it's a more balanced offense and maybe they're throwing the ball a little bit more, whatever the case may be, can he be the same player and be as productive as he was in his freshman season, or will he have a little bit of a slump? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's see about number 5 is Drew Aller. This is a little bit lower down than most people have Drew Aller. This is somebody a lot of people believe could be one of the top picks in next year's draft. At the quarterback position, playing at Penn State. Last year's stats, 3,327 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, 66.5 completion percentage, 302 rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns as well. So a little bit being able to run the ball, but mostly going to go through the air for Drew Aller. He runs that team very well. He's more pro-ready than a lot of these other quarterbacks as well. He took the Nittany Lions to the heights they had not been in a long time. Can he do it again in year 2? Where is Drew Aller for you, Matt?
So my issue with Drew Aller, I mean, I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I also had him at number 5 on my list, but my issue with Drew Aller is that in big games, he had a tendency to disappear or not play very well.
Yeah.
Particularly on the road in 2023, he really struggled. But this year, against Notre Dame, he has 135 yards passing, no touchdowns and interception. Against Boise State, he's 13 of 25 for 171 yards. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, but those aren't exactly eye-popping numbers everywhere else. SMU doesn't really count. They just absolutely trounced SMU and ran the ball down their throat. So I'm not going to give him too much for that. But in the Big Ten championship against Oregon, 226 yards, 20 of 39 passing. That's just above 50%. 2 interceptions. There was just too many games where it really mattered. Ohio State was another one. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 146 yards. Like there's just been too many occasions in big games where he hasn't stepped up, and that's why he's not higher on my list. I think he has all the talent in the world, but he needs to figure out a way to step up in these big games in the way that Quinn Ewers could do it, in the way that Cade Klubnik did it last year in the ACC championship and things like that. If he can do that, then he's absolutely top 5 quarterback. But that's my biggest knock against him.
Number 6, Garrett Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback. We've talked a lot about LSU because they're believed to be have a really good offseason and pick up their numbers. 2024, he threw the ball a lot. He had 4,052 yards, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and threw the ball 64% completion percentage. Doesn't really run the ball. He sits in that pocket. He throws the football, and he throws it again and again and again and again, and that's what LSU did. Now, if they round out this team and get the ball on the ground a little bit more and maybe take a little pressure off of him, maybe confuse the defense a little bit more, maybe those interception numbers will come down a little bit more. He'll be able to get some bigger plays out of it. Right now, he is a really good quarterback. I'm not taking that away from him. The LSU offense was just really, really predictable last year because they were going to throw the ball over and over and over again. So Garrett Nussmeier coming in at 6, I think it's about right. Maybe he's up 5. Maybe he's in that range because he's a really good quarterback. But I don't know if he's got that X factor to carry a team when there was nobody else that was going to be able to do anything. He just felt like he went out there and did the job last year as well as he could, but I didn't feel like it was over the top good, and the rest of the team wasn't good enough.
Yeah. I mean, this guy has a chance to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft next year, which is something that, people need to take into consideration. He has all, like, just like Drew Aller, he has all the talent in the world. There was also just a lot of games where, when his team wasn't playing well around him, that he kind of disappeared and couldn't get them over the hump. They lost to Florida, they lost to Alabama, they lost to Texas A&M. They lost by double digits 3 straight games in a row to those 3 teams, which you never want to see. He had 5 interceptions over that stretch, so it's kind of the Drew Aller situation to me, where you got to find a way to rally your team around you when things aren't going well. Texas wasn't doing a whole lot against Georgia in the SEC championships in terms of scoring points, but Quinn Ewers kept putting them in position to score points because he was rising to the occasion in the big game. He rose to the occasion against Arizona State and got them over the hump. Garrett Nussmeier has yet to do that for his team. So if he can do that, then he'll be worthy of that ranking. But in terms of talent, he's certainly up there, and you can't deny that.
Yeah, and then number 7 is kind of that guy. So his stats aren't there, but you feel like he is somebody that can take a team and elevate them. And that's DJ Lagaway from Florida. And what we saw with him in a small window last season was him willing his team to play really well. A Florida team that looked god-awful. And DJ Lagaway came in, and he got players to play better around him. He really looked like he was willing this team forward. He ends up with only 1,915 yards through the air, 12 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Not a great 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions is not great. Neither is the 60% completion percentage. He only had 101 rushing yards. So stats-wise, nothing that special, but a lot of that was him keeping them in games, making big plays, really showing off and trying to get to that next part of, can this guy be elite? Can we, it's the question, if you're a coach and you're scouting, do you want a guy who's everything that you could ever want of an arm and everything else, but he's just not special? You know what I mean? He doesn't have that next gear that's going to take you in the game. Or do you want a DJ Lagaway where you say, we can tell he's special, but can we fix the other parts? Can we iron out the wrinkles in his game and make him a 20 touchdown, 5 interception guy instead of a 12 touchdown, non-interception guy? Can we shift those out a little bit and make him make some smarter decisions? I think that's what Florida is going to be trying to do. And I think most coaches would say, give me the really special guy and I can try and make him better. The question now is, can he progress from year 1 to year 2 in his game? Or does he maybe regress a little bit? Maybe does he stay about where he's at? Because what he played at last year isn't good enough for this year. And he has to progress. So he's number 7, kind of like Arch Manning is, based on what we expect the progression to be.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. I had him at number 6 on my list, so that should tell you what I think about him. But Florida was just not a very good football team last year, and he still was able to make what's the term for it? He was able to make chicken salad out of chicken, chicken dung. And and he did he had Georgia on the ropes in the first half of that game before he got injured and they had to pull him. And that was just kind of a microcosm of the kind of effect that he can have on a football team. Like Arch, he's got all the talent in the world. He can throw it, he can run it. But it's just a matter of proving it on the field. And that's why, you can have arguments against Arch being so high on this list, is because he hasn't really proven it in terms of in against elite competition. And DJ has had examples of proving it against big competition. His team just wasn't there around him. And I think that they're going to be a better football team this year. And I think he is going to progress. It's just a matter of if Billy Napier can get out of his way and let him cook.
Look, and can they keep him on the field? I mean, they just had
Mm-hmm.
terrible luck at quarterback injury last year. And, he came in for an injured player, and then he got injured multiple times last year. So can they keep him on the field? Again, he's going to run sometimes, and you just can't do it too much at the SEC. Another SEC quarterback coming in at number 8, Lenoris Sellers. I know you're very high on him. 2024, he had 2,534 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, threw the ball about 66% completion percentage. He had another 674 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. He is dual threat. He's very, very fast, but that 66% completion percentage will tell you that he can also put the ball in the hands of where they need to go. So he can throw the football, but he does have those legs as well. He's going to be a nightmare to guard. I don't know if he has enough help at South Carolina to really let him be elite this season, but I think he will be one of those guys that everybody in the NFL is going to be looking at and saying, if we put the right guys around him, he could be something really, really special, because we know Lenoris Sellers has unique talents and unique abilities, and a lot of guys who can run like he does cannot throw the ball like he does.
Yeah, I mean, Texas A&M is a perfect example of what this guy can do. I mean, against the Aggies, they were ranked number 10 at the time. Lenoris Sellers throws for 244 yards and 2 touchdowns, runs for over 100 yards and another touchdown. Against Clemson, he ran for 166 and threw for 164. There was multiple games where he rushed for over 50 or 60 yards and had a great day throwing the ball as well. I think that they are going to have a very explosive offense in terms of the skill positions at South Carolina. Can they block for him is a question that I have, and can that defense give him the opportunity to win games, and as opposed to just like trying to outrace the other team and score as many points as possible. But he's another guy that could very well be a number 1 NFL draft pick before it's all said and done. I have him way higher on my list than number 8. But, I think he's going to be one of those guys that really explodes onto the scene next year and is a Heisman Trophy contender.
All right, number 9, someone you're not as high on, from Illinois, Luke Altmaier. This is an Illinois team. A lot of people talking about highly. They have the schedule to get them into a position to do something where they can make a run if everything goes well. Last season, he had 2,717 yards, 22 touchdowns through the air, only 6 interceptions. He only completed 61% of his passes, had another 217 yards on the ground with 4 rushing touchdowns. Did a really good job at Illinois last year. Has an easy schedule this year, looks to put up similar numbers. Again, I don't think he's anything special about him that makes him pop off the page and really feel like this guy is going to do something amazing. But that's not what you necessarily need at Illinois. You need someone to not cost you any games, and that may get you far enough to get you in the college football playoffs because you're in the Big Ten. You may be able to have that record. What do you think about Luke Altmaier?
Well, I mean, former Ole Miss kid. He's from Starkville, Mississippi, committed to Ole Miss and was expected to be a big part of that program. Obviously, that didn't end up happening, and he transferred out. But he's a very talented player. I do think he's more of a game manager than a overly talented game changing type quarterback. But he's very efficient. He completes passes at over 60%. He was last year he was 211 of 347, which is 60.8%. And he threw for over 2,500 yards. So I mean, if they can put him in positions to where he can excel and he's not asked to step up and carry a football team to a big win, then I think he's going to be very successful. But he's kind of a surprising inclusion on this list for me, because I don't think that he's, of everybody that they put on this list, the talent difference between him and the rest of these guys, I think, is pretty stark. But I mean, if he can get his team into the college football playoff and compete for a Big Ten title, then it's kind of hard to keep him off the list too.
And finally, at 10, Carson Beck transferred out of Miami last year with Georgia. He had 3,485 yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, threw the ball about 65% completion percentage there. Again, when you look at those numbers, it's funny because if you would have just listened to what people said about Carson Beck's year last year, he threw, 12 touchdowns, 28 interceptions for 65 yards because he would. I mean, there was people that just he really, he kind of fell into the Quinn Ewers world of this guy's doing really well, but we expect him to be the best quarterback in college football. And he's just not playing like the best quarterback in college football right now. So if he's not playing as the best quarterback, then clearly he's a failure and he's not doing well. That's not the case. Now he goes over to a Miami team where he gets away from maybe some of those expectations, plays for a different coach, a different style now, really going to try and pick his game up. He's playing for a coach that did just put the number 1 pick in the NFL draft with Cam Ward. So maybe that feels like he's going to have a more electric season. Carson Beck does feel, again, like one of those guys that maybe doesn't have that X factor special ability to be great and be elite, but he's going to be really, really good. 10 feels a little low on this list for Carson Beck. I'd probably have him a little bit higher on my list because I do think he's a really good quarterback. He's had a lot of expectations last year, and he didn't follow through on them. He also got hurt. That's also, 3,485 yards before the injury. I think that there's some to be said that he still had a pretty productive season. I think he'll be productive at Miami as well. Once he's healed back up, he'll be good to go. I'd probably have him a little bit higher on this list, not a ton higher. He'd probably still be in the back half of the top 10, just because he doesn't have that special ability. And maybe in Miami, we'll see what he's able to do the first year with the new playbook, but he's still a hell of a quarterback.
Yeah, I have him at number 9. So, I mean, this placing feels a little bit like I think that he should be above Luke Altmaier for sure.
Yeah.
You can make an argument for him to be even higher than that. I think that,
I'd put him above DJ Lagway at this point.
Probably, but he's proven more. He's played for he's played for SEC championships.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm gonna go. Just DJ Lagway doesn't. He had some really great games, but Carson Beck's had really great games too. He just didn't necessarily have them all last year.
Yeah, he threw a few too many interceptions last year, but also, one of the big issues for Georgia was their receivers just dropped ball after ball after ball. So there's a very easy argument to be made that if his receivers were just reliable with their hands, that he throws for over 4,000 yards and he has a massive season and he's in the conversation for a top 10 NFL draft pick. I mean, that was a big problem for them. I did hear from one quarterback guy that I really trust who knows a lot about the Georgia program that there's kind of a softness to him where he's not the alpha dog type guy. So maybe that's kind of a knock on him. He transfers to Miami following a girlfriend and then cheats on his girlfriend and allegedly. And then now he's stuck in Miami the whole thing is just kind of turned into a mess towards the end of his season and through the off season. But the fact of the matter is he's proven a lot. He's super talented, and if he can kind of rebound this year and have more of a season like he had as his second to last year in 2023 with Georgia, as opposed to last year where there was just kind of the inconsistencies, then he'll put himself in a good position to be much higher on this list by the end of the year.
All right, so that's the top 10 for Joel Klatt. Is there anybody that you think he left off of this list? Somebody that should be in the top 10 quarterbacks?
I mean, I think you can make an argument for a bunch of people. Kevin Jennings at SMU was number 10 on my list. I think, Dante Moore at Oregon has a chance. You could argue that he's just like DJ Lagway or Arch is the young guy that has all the talent in the world who has a chance to make a name for himself. I still think Nico Iamaleava is as talented as they come as a quarterback. So, I understand leaving him off the list. I left him off mine because of everything that happened, but he's as talented as they come in terms of arm talent. So,
what do you think about Dominic Raiola? You put him on there. He's just outside.
Dominic Raiola is an offensive lineman, but Dylan Raiola is, I think.
Dylan Raiola, sorry.
Yes, yeah, Dominic's son, Dylan. Yeah, the Patrick Mahomes cosplayer. I mean, he has a chance to be on there by the end of the season. But I mean, we had 9 of the 10 same people, so I can't hate this list too much.
No, I think that's why I like Joel Klatt. He does a pretty good list. I think there are some that you could argue across, but I think he did a pretty good list. Better then Matt, somebody else who released something today. Aaron Murray, former Georgia quarterback, came out today, and he's not sold on Arch Manning. He doesn't get it. This is, I believe, the exact quote he gave today. I'm not sold, like so many the other people are, that this guy is going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft, that he's going to just be unbelievable, that he's going to be the next coming of Peyton and Eli. But that's mobile. And I said this last year during the season too, because I was a big fan of Quinn Ewers heading into the season. I thought Quinn did some good stuff at times last season, but let's be honest. Texas had probably the second or third best roster in America, probably the second or third. Why were they not competing for a national championship? They were. Because Quinn Ewers was holding them back. Quinn did not perform to the level that I thought he could. And then you see now in the NFL draft, I mean, he gets drafted in the 7th round. So even NFL scouts are saying, like, this guy's maybe just not as good as anticipated coming out as a recruit, or even maybe 2 years ago. So all in all, Quinn Ewers had a disappointing season, and reflected in his draft stock. If you are so good and everyone has you projected number one pick in the NFL draft come 2026, why in the hell are you not playing above a 7th round quarterback? That's basically it. He says some more stuff on there, but basically saying, well, the NFL has said you're a 7th round quarterback, which is debatable because we know that he was better than some of the guys that were on there, and there was different reasonings why he wasn't taken as a 7th round quarterback. He wasn't graded as a 7th round quarterback, but we'll say, why are you, if you're the number one pick, why are you not playing above him? Now, this is coming from someone who is a quarterback and should realize that there's plenty of reasons why someone would be playing instead of their backup, especially somebody with no experience. So there's, I think, a inkling that you could take out of this and say, no, there is truth that you can't just take Arch Manning and anoint him great without him playing. But the entire picture of it is a pretty asinine take by a former quarterback. And I don't know how much of this is part of the hot take media that we have to live in now, that everyone has to really try and go out and make their name on being hot takes, and how much of this he actually believes, or how much of this was in Georgia. Maybe he partied a little too much and maybe damaged some of those brain cells when the offensive line let him through. I don't know, but it felt like a really bad take. And I know as soon as I read it, I was like, I feel like Matt has a take on this one as well. So I'll clear the floor for Matt to let you go and give your response to this story.
I'm trying to figure out where I should start here, because it's everything that he said is this is one of the worst takes I've ever heard in terms of a college football take from a former player. Especially one who's in the media and had, who went to the NFL and was a very successful player, and it seems like a really smart guy, all things considered. This is an absolutely moronic, stupid take. It's the most asinine thing that I've heard in a very long time. We'll start with the Quinn stuff. First off, he says, why weren't they competing for a national championship? They were in the college football playoff semifinal and almost went to overtime against the national title winners. They were competing for a national title. Saying that Texas was not competing for a national title last year is like saying that, I don't breathe air. I breathe air. I drink water. It's like water is wet. Texas played, like, they competed for a national title last year. That is number one. That's just unbelievable that you say something like that to me. Number two, the draft issues. Quinn Ewers was going to be a 3rd or 4th round draft pick. And then it is well documented by at least his agent that there are other reasons why he fell. And it has to do with his name and being a backup quarterback and all these different things. And sure, he ended up being the 14th pick, the 14th quarterback taken, and that's something that you can take away. But is he the reason that Texas struggled to make it past last year? No. He's the only reason they were in it to begin with. You can have the most talented roster in the world, but if he can't make that pass on 4th and 13 in overtime to Matthew Golden, then they're not playing Ohio State. If he doesn't throw for 350 yards against Georgia, they get blown out in that game. They don't score a point probably in that game. If he doesn't have the game that he has against Michigan, that's a 17-13 game, and they have a chance of losing to a bad Michigan team. He comes out and he blows out Oklahoma, and he does all of this stuff with a torn oblique. And people are saying that he's like, it's almost like he took this Quinn Ewers thing and just did a little bit of research before he went on air and was like, okay, people are saying that Quinn sucked last year. I'll look at some message boards. And he didn't look at any of the news regarding Quinn. He didn't dive into it. He didn't do any legitimate research. I mean, he tore his oblique against Michigan and played the entire season without a full deck because he couldn't put all the velocity on the football. He couldn't do everything that he wanted to do. And when he was able to do that stuff early in the year, you could see it. And then he plays with the injury and he battles through it. He plays super tough. And he puts them in position to win game after game after game after game. And even in games where the rest of his team is struggling and they're in a battle against Vanderbilt and they're in a battle against Arkansas, he's still putting them in positions to win and making the touchdowns and the key plays to get them over the hump. So his views on Quinn Ewers are just warped and stupid and asinine to begin with. I don't know that I've heard a worse take about Quinn Ewers in a very long time. Like even the Mel Kiper stuff where he complained about Quinn was one thing, but he still had him as a 3rd, 4th round pick by the end because that's the kind of player he was. He couldn't account for the teams passing on him because of the other things that happened. So that's one. And then we get to the thing that he says at the end of this interview or at the end of this clip that Patrick didn't get to. And his quote is, and this is about Arch. He says, and then you watch the tape and yeah, it looks good at times. I wouldn't say it looks incredible. It doesn't scream 1st round talent to me off the back. And I'm not saying he can't get there. I'm never going to talk bad about a quarterback because I know how difficult it is. I'm cheering for him like I cheer for every quarterback. I want them to have success, but I need to see it first. I'm not going to crown this all-American superstar. Well, you just talked bad about a quarterback, first of all, Aaron. You just talked bad about Quinn Ewers. So you're already contradicting yourself right there. And number 2, if you actually watch the tape of Arch Manning and you watch him against UTSA and ULM and Mississippi State, you see 10 to 15 to 20 plays that show you exactly what kind of quarterback he can be. The darts down the field, the improvisation, the passes across the middle, his ability to run the football, all of these different things that scream number 1 draft pick. And you have guys like Todd McShay coming out and doing scouting reports on Arch Manning saying, okay, yeah, I see it. This guy is a bona fide number 1 draft pick. If he can, put it all together and live up to the hype that he put for himself by putting this product on the field, then he will absolutely be a number 1 draft pick. There's a reason that 95% of mock drafts that come out over the last, since the last NFL draft ended, like the way too early 2025 or 2026 mock drafts, have Arch number 1 because he is the most physically talented quarterback in college football. And to say that you don't see it on the tape screams to me that you didn't watch the tape, A, or B, you only watched the tape from when he was brought in like these boutique packages where it was kind of a wildcat thing and he didn't really throw the football. I mean, how can you sit here and say that a guy that just absolutely pieced up the 3 teams that he played the majority of the time against and made incredible NFL level throws, the tape doesn't say it to you? I just don't get it. And like, my opinion on everything he said is that I don't think that he believes most of this stuff. I think that he thinks that if he comes out and says all these different things that detract from Arch Manning, that he's going to go viral and that he's going to cause a conversation. And that's all I think this was. I don't think that you can have a rational conversation by sitting there and actually watching Arch Manning play and watching Quinn Ewers play and have these takes. It's abhorrent. It's terrible. I'm about to have a stroke talking about this stuff. It's so bad.
So yeah, you're on the board that it's hot take media now, that everything is about trying to get on the clip and trying to get aggregated and all of that. I definitely think there's part of it. It's where you reverse engineer sports, where you look at something and you say, here's my take. How can I get to that take? And you can always find a way to get to the take. In good sports coverage, what you do is you say, here's my take. I'm going to try and prove that. And a lot of times when you do that, you find out you're maybe wrong, or there is a different way to look at it. And you go and you say, well, I think this guy's better. And you look at the stats and you go, well, they don't really make that. So maybe I should change my take so that I'm not there. The new way is, this is the take. find a way to get there. And if the take is Arch Manning is overrated, how do you get there? Well, he sat behind a 7th-round pick. Now, everything else would tell you, well, there's a lot more factors into it. You can't just say from point A to point B without mentioning everything else. And also, you were a quarterback at a major university. You understand the importance of leadership, and you understand the importance of not switching quarterbacks all the time. And maybe you shouldn't switch a quarterback halfway through a season because your quarterback's doing well, but you think the other guy could be great. And okay, this is the time. Quinn Ewers only threw a 65% completions with 275 yards in this game. We should probably bench him for Arch. Sounds like a dumb thing to do. Even if Arch is going to be great, you can't do that. So he knows all of this, and it does feel very much like hot take media. But it's just as when players do this that played the position. I get when Emmanuel Acho's on there and he's talking that the Celtics are better without Jason Tatum, which, boy, that take went really well after Game 6, didn't it? That take blossomed after Game 6. And Kevin Durant came out and said, I hate hot take media, which I agree with. Kendrick Perkins is the absolute worst because all he does is say dumb stuff to get on TV, and they keep giving him more and more money to do it. So it's like, I hate it as well. That's really what this feels like. So whenever you see stuff like this, you do have to take it with a grain of salt. But on the flip of that, when it's a target person talking about their own position, that's when it really gets annoying. Because you're like, if it's another sport, maybe you can plead ignorance. But if you're going to talk about being a quarterback at the college level and then trash 2 guys and go, I don't like to talk bad about quarterbacks, but I'm pretty sure everyone in Texas sucks. Like, I think that's you're just either that or Kirby Smart called you and said, we're losing on some of these recruits. Could you try and bash Texas a little bit for us so we can maybe get some of these guys to come to Georgia? I don't know what it was, but it was, everything about it was just kind of off and weird. And I'm with you. I don't know which game you watched of Arch Manning and thought, I don't know about this guy. He looks poised in the pocket and is throwing. Yeah, maybe he throws. I don't see what he saw that he thought. I don't know what game film he watched. Maybe he watched the 2023 spring game. He didn't look great there. Maybe that was what it was. He watched the 2023 spring game.
This is what I like to call, you talk about hot take media. This is what I like to call the Skip Bayless effect.
Yeah.
That's all he's trying to do here. And there's one thing that I forgot to talk about, and I'll touch on it briefly. The notion that if he's so good, why shouldn't he play over Quinn Ewers? Or why wasn't he playing over Quinn Ewers? Well, Aaron, it's because this guy has had 3 years in Steve Sarkisian's system. He's battle tested. He's already won them a conference championship. He's already gotten to them the college football playoff. In what planet and in what scenario in any level of football ever has a guy who has won a conference title and gotten you one play away from playing for a national title, the next year gets benched because a 5-star recruit's ready to go? That's never happened. Ever.
No,
that's why he wasn't playing.
Yes. No, that's my point. There's no reason he should have been benched. It's all silly. Yeah, and it is. In the Skip Bayless effect, you're right, because it is that, but the whole point of that is now you have executives that go, well, we get views on social media if you do these things. So we are paying you to say crazy things now. And then you go to these boot camps or whatever else, these conferences where they tell you, hey, don't be good for sports, be bad for sports, and it's better for you. And it sucks. And I'm glad we don't necessarily do that here at Texas Sports Unfiltered, because we get to have fun and talk about positive things and reality instead of just trying to make a take. BK doesn't text us every week and go, hey, I'm going to need you to go on the air and say some of the dumbest things you've ever said in your life. We need 4 of them this week, because that's what they do at ESPN, and it's not cool. Let's move on. Something more positive, maybe. Let's talk some Cowboys here. As OTAs started on Monday, we did get to see some Brian Schottenheimer talk to the media today. Won over a lot of the media today. If you saw the reactions from the media today, they were head over heels for Brian Schottenheimer, being a very charismatic guy, being very thought, and the main comment you saw was, this is remarkably better than Mike McCarthy ever was at speaking to the media. He answered the questions. He answered the questions thoughtfully. He had good responses. Some of the response I can remember on top of my head was asked about Micah Parsons and would he be there? And he said he's going to be here some days. He's being a part of it. He wants to be part of our leadership going forward. He wants to be part of this team. And we talked about it. And I said, if you want to be part of leadership, we need you here some so you can start taking that process. Micah Parsons retweeted that quote. And Micah Parsons is on board, but he talked about Micah and what he's going to do and how bought in he is and everything else, and we'll figure out the contract as it comes. He talked about George Pickens. He said what impressed him the most about George Pickens was that he saw him in there and all he was doing is writing down notes, and he was trying. He goes, he's not far behind everybody else, but he knows he's a few weeks behind everybody else. So right now he's working his butt off to catch back up. And he just spoke really highly about George Pickens. Nothing about his past at Pittsburgh, nothing about anything else, but about the guy and him working hard and showing compassion to George Pickens. They asked about Javonte Williams, and he said, you know, what I want to know about Javonte Williams is why did he name his dog what he named his dog? I want to know more about these guys so we can actually communicate with them. And he talked a lot about culture. He talked a lot about team building and building together a unit, which feels has not been there in Dallas for quite some time. That was something that probably started years ago that they tried this, and during the Jason Garrett era, it just kind of fell apart while there was more infighting and everybody deciding whose fault it was when they weren't winning. And then that scrolled in, and Mike McCarthy never really addressed it. He just came in and, you know, the fact that Mike McCarthy's entire thing started on a lie should have been a sign that he probably wasn't going to put in the most amount of work. I've watched every single snap of Cowboys football. Hey, Mike, how many snaps have you watched? Some of Cowboys football. You're like, yeah, we get it. We were lying, but that's okay. Now we see Brian Schottenheimer, people really impressed with what he said today. Just a lot of good quotes, seemed compassionate, seemed ready to build this Cowboys team. How much will that translate to wins this season? That is yet to be seen. But there is finally somebody speaking from the Cowboys viewpoint that sounds, you know, rational and compassionate, which has been missing for quite some time.
Yeah, I think that this is a great start to the Brian Schottenheimer era. There's nothing that drives me crazier as a beat writer and a guy who covers, you know, college sports specifically, but then coach speak, where you get asked a question and then you just blabber on for a couple of minutes and answer in a very roundabout way. And you never really answer the question, but you don't really not answer the question either. And you don't really reveal too much, but you're just trying to be politically correct and sound okay. Brian Schottenheimer is just a dude, and he's just talking. And I really, really enjoy that. I remember when I was covering SMU back in the day for 24/7 Sports, Chad Morris was the coach my first year doing that. And he did nothing but coach speak. And it drove me crazy. You ask him a very simple question and he'd go for 15 minutes about something and get off track and do his own thing. And then Sonny Dykes came in and he just answered the question straight up, right to your face, said, yeah, we need to be better here. We need to do this. This is what we're doing, blah, 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 blah. And everybody really appreciated that. And when you can build a connection with the media as a head coach, you're already on a really great foot. And I think that's something that Steve Sarkisian does really well at Texas too. Yes. Is he's very honest. He's very upfront. He doesn't BS you. There's not a lot of coach speak in there. And it's a great way to kind of endear yourself to your players as well. When they know that he has their back and their best interest at heart. He's not going to lie about anything. He's not going to say anything off the cuff that's going to get him in trouble with the players. So you really love to see all that stuff. I am wondering how all of this is going to translate to the on-field product because he doesn't have head coaching experience. But as far as, you know, the way things have gone so far, the way that he drafted, the way that he's, you know, connected to his players and the way that he's connecting to the media, it's all fallen in place so far.
Yeah, first impressions are very good in that sense. But yeah, and I mean, it's also, you know, coach speak, even Sark, and he's better about it now, but especially in the early years, you could see Sark win the losses. And it wasn't, you know, one loss, still, you know, maybe a little coach speak, but then 2 losses in a row, a lot of coach speak. A lot of 3 losses, tons of coach speak, you know, and it was like, it's really hard when people are coming after you and you know everything you say is going to be used against you. So it's a lot harder to be open and honest when you have those losses. The Cowboys are going to have losses this year. Everyone in the NFL is going to have losses this year. So, even if they have a great season, they're going to lose 5 or 6 games. Like, even with a really, achieving season for the Cowboys, they're going to lose some games. How he responds after those, when he responds when they have a hard patch and lose a couple games back to back, when Jerry Jones inevitably comes out after a game and throws him under the bus or throws somebody under the bus, how he reacts to that, then we'll get to see him under a little bit more pressure. Right now, he did everything right to start it off, though, and it was a really good way to start off OTAs. Mike Parsons was at OTAs yesterday. He was not there today. So they're doing yesterday and today. Then I think they're doing Thursday and Friday. They'll do another little session a little bit later in June, I believe. But they're one of the few that are starting off early. But Matt, I want to know what you're kind of looking for now coming out of OTAs, what you've seen so far, what you're looking for as OTAs begin. It's the off season, the voluntary workouts for the Cowboys, and it coming off a season that was a big disappointment. And, we saw the good news. Dak Prescott is full participant. That's you love to see. We weren't sure how his injury was going to be. But what are you looking at? What are you worried about? What are you excited about as OTAs begin this week?
The first thing I'm looking for is how Dak develops a connection with George Pickens.
Yeah.
Bringing a new receiver in that's going to have really high expectations and, be a big part of the offense. It's always a challenge, especially when you have another number one on the other side who's your clear number one guy, and a guy that Dak always looks to when the game's on the line. How does he develop that connection with George Pickens and implement him into the offense so that things are balanced and nobody has to focus on CD 100% of the time, and no one has to focus, like there's a good two-way game there. That's going to be something that I'm going to be watching a lot. I'm going to be watching how this offensive line comes together with a new offensive coordinator and a new offensive line coach, a bunch of new guys in there. Tyler Booker and how they fill out the rest of that offensive line and what the best group looks like is going to be critical for this team. Can they run block effectively? Can they pass block effectively? I mean, Will Matthews talked about it today about new offensive line at Texas. It's a very similar thing. There are going to be some new faces in there. How does that all look? And how do they develop chemistry with Dak Prescott and this, Cooper Beebe calling plays at the line and all that kind of stuff. And then the other two things I'm really looking for is, number one, how does Jaden Blue fit into this offense early on? How much do they feature him in their main offensive package with Javonte Williams there and Miles Sanders there? It is going to be something that I'm really looking for, and how he progresses in terms of pass blocking and the other little things that he needed to work on going into the NFL. And then the last thing is the cornerback room. How with Trevon Diggs being injured, how do they fill out? Does Siobhan Revel come out and start immediately? Does Deron Bland move around a little bit? How does that all work? Because it seems like their defensive line is very set. It seems like their linebackers are very set. The thing that is still kind of in flux is that secondary. How does that look in OTAs? What bodies do they throw out there? Carson's going to be a part of it, and all those things. But it was a weak point for them last year because of the injuries and things. And if they can take a step there, then it would be big for them. But I've got a million other questions, but those are probably the four that I'm really looking for the most.
Yeah, I know I saw Deron Bland was playing in the slot a lot there today. So he was doing some of it. I think that, that battle on the offensive and defensive line, because Micah's not there. So Micah's not going to be doing any of the drills. So you can take that out and now say, okay, let's see which defensive ends are getting the most run. Let's see how many defensive tackles, how many of these guys are actually running, and how many can actually do anything. And with a defensive line that's okay but not great, your offensive line should be able to hold it, right? And where they move guys and what they're able to do in those positions, I think is going to be really interesting to see as we get through these OTAs, just seeing how that offensive line, where they're putting guys, what rotations. He did say today you can't take anybody playing in any group as any sign of where, who's going to be a starter and what the depth chart is. None of that is anywhere close to being decided yet. but they're trying to create competition. So they're putting guys in different groups to create that competition. But yeah, it really comes down to there's a lot of areas where you really have to look and say, what is the depth of this team? Because the Cowboys have been notoriously, shallow. They don't spend the money to bring in backups that are going to, they really just are trying to plug holes whenever they can. And now sometimes they get lucky in the draft and now they have, a couple more guys and they feel a little bit better about a position. But overall, there's going to be plenty of positions where you get the running back. How many of those running backs are NFL running backs? You just talked about Jaden Blue. Javonte Williams, is he a starting NFL running back right now? Is Miles Sanders an NFL running back still? Who do you have on this roster who can be an NFL running back? Somebody to carry the ball more than 10 times in a game and you feel good about it. At wide receiver, who's coming in and playing those reps at 3 and 4? Who can come out besides your top two guys and really show off with Dak Prescott? No, this guy belongs in the NFL and he belongs playing in NFL games. It just across the board, the secondary, especially, how many of these guys are not going to get torched when we put CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens running with them? How many of these guys don't just fall on their ass trying to defend these guys? That depth for the Cowboys is so important. You put another game on the season, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be times where you have to go to somebody else, whether it's in-game or a week off or whatever it is. And that has always been, it just feels like every year for the Cowboys, something happens and, well, crap, what can we do now? Who could have thought somebody would get hurt? And it's going to happen. So what can the Cowboys do in those places? You just want to see who feels like they belong there. And is the gap between CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and Micah Parsons and, Deron Blank, these guys that you feel are next level guys, what's the gap between them and everybody else? And so just watching the OTAs, who do you hear 4 names come out as standout guys? Is it 7 names? Is it 10 names? Are you talking about a lot of people that are playing really well? Or are you talking about 1 or 2 guys? Man, these guys stand out because you'd like to see 10 guys, 15 guys make some plays and really give you some confidence on the depth of this team.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I'm really going to be looking for that I forgot to mention earlier is just exactly what this offense is going to look like.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian Schottenheimer was part of it last year. But he's going to be doing things differently than Mike McCarthy this year. They're bringing in Clayton Adams, who has an offensive line background, and he's going to, really emphasize the running game, and they're going to do things differently. They're going to motion differently. They're going to have a different type of scheme. I really want to see what that looks like and how Dak Prescott adjusts to it. Obviously, he's going to do things that are going to play to Dak's strengths because he knows Dak very well already. But how do these other pieces fit in there? How is their run blocking scheme different? Are they going to do a lot more zone running? Are they going to take more deep shots? Are they going to, be more conservative? Are they going to be, are they going to take bigger risks? What does that all look like? And how does it maximize the talents that they have on the roster is something that I'm going to be really looking forward to, because over the past couple of years, it's just kind of been Dak and CD and, that's all we got. And that we're just going to hammer that as much as we possibly can because we can't run the football. So how do they improve, and what do they do differently to improve that offense and make it look a little bit different than it has under Mike McCarthy?
Oh, I can't wait to get some of those great Jake Ferguson reports and watch Matt get mad every time when there's no way he's going to do it in the game. He's just not going to do it in the game. I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, and Jake Ferguson's awesome. And I was like, I don't know how much Jake Ferguson you've watched. I think you've heard people say that he's awesome. He's not bad, but he has never been able to get over that hump to be awesome by any stretch of the imagination. But we'll have more as reports come out about the OTAs for the Cowboys. The Texans OTAs begin next week, so we can get a little bit out of the Texans next week. But the Cowboys starting their OTAs, getting a little bit more practice in. And I'm with you. Seeing what this offense does, what they're going to try and pull out. How many receivers? Well, what packages are you really throwing out there a few times? And now some of that is they're just trying to see what they've got. But I'm with you. That is a big piece of how exciting is this offense going to be, or are we going to play a little bit more safe football and just try and play to Dak's strengths. Just get the ball down the field, find your guys. Don't try to do anything too crazy. You'd like to see them have a little bit more flair because you're probably going to need it at points, going to make some of those big plays to compete in this really tough division.
Yeah, it's going to be critical. There was so many times that the Cowboys offense was just predictable last year.
Yeah.
And it didn't obviously there was some shortcomings in terms of the talent that they had on that side of the ball, but Mike McCarthy had his way and he was going to do it that way. And that's the only way they were going to do it. And he wasn't going to budge. Brian Schottenheimer is going to change a lot of things. And it's the way that he finds the issues that they had last year and improves on those things, take what he learned from Mike McCarthy and make it better is going to be critical to whether or not this team is a 6-11, 7-10 football team or a 10-7, 11-6 football team, in my opinion. So
there we go.
I think he can do it, but we'll see.
All right, let's take our second little break here. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs happening tonight. We've kind of already had our meathead of the day, so we'll see if we add another one as we continue on here. We roll on Open Gym here on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Hi, I'm Hayden Covert. Welcome to Covert Buick GMC of Bee Cave, your home in the Hill Country for new and pre-owned Buick and GMC vehicles. With beautiful inventory arriving daily, including the GMC Yukon, Sierra 1500, and Buick Enclave, you'll be certain to find the perfect vehicle at an incredible deal. Our service department is also open for all your vehicle maintenance needs. Visit us today for a test drive. Covert, born and raised in Austin. We are professional grade.
Altstadt Beer, the best beer that you can find all throughout the great state of Texas. Y'all know I've been a fan of Altstadt for years now, and if you try it, I think you will be too. If you've already tried it, you know exactly what I am talking about. Altstadt is brewed locally in Fredericksburg, but available all over the state of Texas. So if you're tuned in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, it does not matter. You can find Altstadt at a local grocery store or liquor store. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. The lager, the Kolsch, those are their two flagship beers, both award winners. They are fantastic. The Altstadt Light sacrifices on calories but does not sacrifice on the taste. They've got a great pills, tons of great seasonals as well. I'm telling you, one sip and you won't go back to the other beers you've been drinking in the past. It is the official beer of BK. It should be the official beer of you as well. It's Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic, inexperienced sales geeks, or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. Do you have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Or online at avconsultations.com.
Back here on Open Gym on Texas Sports Unfiltered, wrapping it up tonight. We get the game one of the Timberwolves and Thunder. Any predictions on game one between these two teams? Lots of really fun matchups to watch in this one. Julius Randle seeing if he can continue that success that he had going against some great players down in the post. Rudy Gobert is going to try and show up Chet Holmgren and who can block the most shots. But the SGA versus Anthony Edwards matchup is really going to be the one to watch tonight. Any predictions right now? OKC is a 6.5 point favorite there, man.
I really like Anthony Edwards, as I've stated multiple times on this show. So I think he's going to come out very fired up. My question is whether or not, as you've mentioned before, him putting together the game in the first and second half, a complete game, as opposed to just going off in the second half. I think against Oklahoma City, you can't afford to have those kind of performances. You got to be consistent all the way through. But just the way Oklahoma City has played as of late, I would expect them to get game one. They just look really good right now, especially in that game 7 against Denver.
So I'll say this. I think that this game hinges on the first half, and it'll be decided in the first half, and the second half will be much more fun to watch. But this first half, I think OKC is going to come out of the gate storming and get a lead. And Minnesota is going to have to hold on. Now, if they hold on, Anthony Edwards all playoffs has been really good in the second half. He sucked in the first half a lot of games, but he's been really good in the second half. If they're able to keep it within 15, they probably have a pretty good shot. But if this thing balloons up to 20, you could see another rout there for Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City wins it just because that rust versus rust that we have seen a few times. I think that the rest gives you rust. And Oklahoma City coming off playing more games, I think is just going to be more ready to go than this Minnesota team. And they have the depth, so they're not as tired as some other teams would be for playing that long. But I just think that Oklahoma City coming off of another series, realizing it going 7 in that one, is going to try and not make the mistake they made against Denver, where they came out very lackluster in round 2. I think they're going to play a lot better tonight as we get into it. Minnesota's been there before. They know what it is. I think they're just going to be a little unprepared for what the force OKC comes out for. Who knows what actually happens, but that's where I'll stick it and believe that this game is probably going to end up going to the Thunder's way. But the second half, you just got to stay in the game if you're Minnesota, because we've seen them. That's kind of what they were doing against Denver too, in round 2 was Anthony Edwards just had really good games in the second half. And we saw him just light up teams and light up the Golden State Warriors in the second half over and over again. So I'd put it on, I don't know if he's going to light it up out of the gates, but I think he'll play well in the second half of this game. And that's where it'll be a lot more fun to watch. But we'll see. Maybe Minnesota comes out and is ready to go and is ready for this because they did it last year. But I'll say history is showing right now that those days off help the team that's fresher, or the team that has played more recently seems to be playing better. All right, I found us another meathead of the day today, Matt. This one comes to us from the Washington team owner, one of the Washington team owners, Marjorie Harris. This is her statement today.
So much to look forward to. And look, the Commanders are America's team. And so what better place to have the NFL draft than in the mall?
There we go, Matt. Another claim for America's team. Washington football team is America's team.
Man, what's the obsession with this? Like, the Dallas Cowboys, for better or worse, are America's team because they're the most valuable sports franchise in the world, and because they're the most watched football team in the NFL. There's a reason they're playing on Christmas. There's a reason they play on Thanksgiving every year. I don't understand why people keep trying to come out of the woodwork. Like, the Chiefs are the only other team who has a claim right now to potentially unseat Dallas as that America's team.
But the problem is
Washington?
No, Washington, it's a crazy claim. Like, you guys were not relevant for the last 20 years. And then you have one good season and you roll back in and go America's team. I maybe she means because you're in DC. Maybe that's just a thought, is like, well, because everybody here loves politicians, don't they? I mean, that's the consensus, that everybody loves Washington, D.C. and the residents of D.C., right? Oh, wait, everyone hates every politician who's ever lived? Yeah, no kidding. So this is a ridiculous claim, but that is definitely a meathead of the day.
Washington claiming to be America's team in the NFL is like Texas Tech saying they're the flagship university of Texas.
It's like State saying they're the flagship.
Yeah, it's like who are you trying to fool? Like, this give me a break.
You had to change your name like 4 years ago. You were the Washington football team. That was what you were a few years ago. Are you seriously? America's team. You had to change our name. We're America's team. No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. All right, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow to bring you some more here on Open Gym. But until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow for more